Welcome to the Calder Farmstead.
Now the Ice Hawks back out to center in transition. Carlson with Quenneville 2-on-1. Right when Carlson comes, Quenneville scores!
Here's a chance for Garrett. Fighting scores! Off the face-off! Up in Zeminger. Pulled back to Werenski. Has it. Shoots one. Bounces off a man. 5 seconds left. Werenski. Another jam on the shot. Turning and firing. They go! Scores! They score! Now they catch each other. They both go right over the top. Matching rights to one another. McDermott gets the helmet off of Cassie.
And now, with 9 minutes gone in overtime, the Bears breaking out right side with Bear. Looks like cutting to the net. Bear will score!
And here are your hosts, Cece and Sean.
Hello and greetings from the Mile High city of Denver, Colorado.
And Omaha, Nebraska.
Omaha. Welcome to the Calder Farmstead podcast, episode number 62 for Tuesday, November 15th, 2021. If you're hoping for a podcast featuring tips for increasing profits at your farmers market booths, we are not going to be much help. This is an American Hockey League podcast. My name is CC Hockley, the AHL editor of Full Press Hockey.
And I'm Sean O'Brien from StatsTrack and the AHL's only league-wide analytics guy.
I keep telling you, he's kind of a big deal. As always, we thank you for tuning into the program.
If you're new to hearing CC and I talk about hockey, we're going to recap some of the matchups from the past weekend for you. We both watch a lot of AHL games, and we're going to talk about what we see when we watch the film, as well as use some advanced stats to help us break it down. If that's new to you, you may want to head over to our podcast feed or YouTube channel, wherever you're listening to us from, and check out episode 0. It's a short primer on some of the stats we're going to be talking about, as well as how we view what's important on the ice. So if you're new to some of the more advanced hockey stats terms like PDO or the point shares model, or newer hockey terms like controlled zone entries, go check that out so you better be able to pick up what we're putting down. I promise you it's not that nerdy or technical. It's only 20 minutes, and let's be honest, you wasted 20 minutes trying to figure out why the Macho Man Randy Savage is trending on Twitter today. You'll never get that time back. So next time, want to spend a little more time with us talking hockey.
Would have been the Macho Man's 69th birthday today. Can you feel the madness? Oh, yeah. He's
very nice.
Chilling with Miss Elizabeth. Oh, yeah. All right. Well, first and foremost, we have a trade for a hurting forward core up in Belleville. Yes, we have an AHL trade to talk about. And forward Chris Wilkie was traded from the Rockford IceHogs to the Belleville Senators for future considerations on Saturday. And to kind of set the table here, Belleville has faced a hell of a week after Ottawa assigned 9 players. So 4 forwards, 4 defensemen, 1 goaltender to COVID protocol. That number got bumped up to 10, and they are postponing games up in Ottawa. So yeah, needless to say, you also had Brandstrom breaking his hand, 3 players injured for the Ottawa Sens. So the B-Sens had to improvise. They signed 5 players to professional tryouts from a number of ECHL teams, Toledo, Fort Wayne, South Carolina, Atlanta, but who's counting? And, of course, engaged in this trade as well for a certain Chris Wilkie. And since he did play for the Rockford IceHogs, we are going to bring on our Rockford IceHogs correspondent for Full Press Hockey. And she also has her own podcast from Center Ice that covers, the Rockford IceHogs. Big surprise there. Welcome to the program for the first time, Courtney Bauman. Courtney, welcome to the show.
Hi guys, how's it going?
It's going. It's going to be an interesting show, and it's been a fun day already. We're very excited here, especially to have you. I mean, like I've definitely listened to your podcast here and there when I can in my incredibly overly busy life, but I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I've listened into and I've enjoyed it as well. So you've got double the support, Courtney.
I love it. I love support. And support I love your guys' podcast as well. So there's just love all around.
We're having a little love fest here. And
we're all wearing, need it.
You know what? Seriously, after today, that's for certain. And we're all wearing a little bit of red in aspects. Me and Courtney a little bit more than Sean. But anyway, we're here to talk about Chris Wilkie. And only 1 game played this season. But last season, he played in 22 games, 8 goals, 5 assists. He was ranked in Sean's handy-dandy analytics model, 78.08 percentile among forwards in the 2020-21 season. That is good for a second line forward grade. So Courtney, again, not a whole lot of playing time, only one game this season. But what is Rockford losing in Chris Wilkie when he's on the ice? And what are the B-Sens gaining?
All right, so you say he's only played one game this year, which he has, and that was extremely confusing to me, seeing as this Rockford Ice Hogs team doesn't score goals. So they're definitely losing offensive production, but he was also the short-handed goal leader on the team last year. He had 3.
Yeah, too. And I think I remember at least 2 of them where he just, took a good bounce, made a good read, and his teammates found him through the neutral zone, kind of
Yes.
crack. And that's not usually how I would describe his kind of goal scoring either. He's more of a crash and bang net front guy than a, streaking down the ice Pavel Bure style.
Absolutely. He's no Brandon Hagel over here, but he does have the best eyebrows in the American Hockey League. If you have not seen them, go look up a picture of Chris Wilkie because he has the best eyebrows in the league.
I can appreciate a good pair of eyebrows if you can see mine wiggling underneath my hat there.
Exactly.
Couple
So
of caterpillars, yeah.
yeah. So Rockford does lose some offense, which they need. You mentioned a struggling Belleville Senators forward core, and I was thinking, what about the struggling Rockford Ice Hogs forward core? But I don't make the decisions for this team, unfortunately, sometimes. But yeah, and they're missing a penalty killer, and the Ice Hogs haven't been great on special teams. So hopefully he can take those skills to Belleville. And I see that he has 2 points in 2 games already. So that leaves me even more confused as to why he was not in the Rockford lineup.
Yeah, we in the AHL do not get injury reports ever.
Mhm.
It's like the secret sauce. McDonald's might as well tell us how to make a perfect Big Mac sauce before we get AHL injury reports. But I was surprised too that he played 1 game in Rockford and then got traded, went right away and was in the lineup in Belleville. But it's especially because Rockford is needing guys who can at least generate some semblance of offense.
That can do anything,
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
It's been a rough start to the season yet again for the Rockford Ice Hogs.
In our season preview, we described Chris Wilkie as someone who, away from the puck, has a big nose for the net, has a nose for that. I don't want to attribute anything away from the eyebrows, but
Yes.
but with the puck, he lacked kind of smooth stick handling and puck control, and those kind of lack of smoothness for his puck skills pushed him to the perimeter a lot, which was a point of focus in the offseason, hearing from Derek King and even himself a little bit in the off-season interviews, talking about him trying to work to get to the middle more. His shooting and skating mechanics also leave a lot to be desired, but he's very strong physically, which allows him to kind of power through bad mechanics. I also think in our preseason preview, we said if he could make just little incremental improvements in consistency with his skating stride or just a better mechanical swing on his slap shot, he would make I think that would give him a lot of leaps and bounds because it allow him to use the raw power that he has in a more well-crafted fashion or a finely tuned fashion. But defensively, he has good instincts, not always the most detail-oriented, but he's a useful penalty killer. And guys who can, have the awareness to make those jumps shorthanded, those are something that a lot of teams are starting to use more. We're going to talk later about Charlotte, who is, uses that kind of power kilt idea to keep teams on the power play at bay because they know Charlotte's going to come after them. Belleville, not as much, but we'll see if maybe his presence doesn't change that a little bit. But I think once Belleville actually starts to get healthy and, gets guys back from the just, ravaged by COVID that they are, Chris Wilkie is actually going to be a really good piece for them because he seems to fit that Troy Mann, Belleville lunch pail mentality of maybe not the most skilled guy in the world, not the, eyebrows aside, not the sexiest skill set, but he's a hard worker. He's strong. He can battle. And that's been the identity of Belleville for what seems like about a year and a half now.
Yeah, he's really not one of those guys that's just going to come in and absolutely wow you on the ice. He might not even stand out in the first or second game you watch, but when he's not in the lineup, that's when his presence is really felt or not felt, I guess, because you can tell the difference with how the team plays on the ice. It's less hard-nosed hockey. They're not going to the net, which is kind of funny because he was pushed to the perimeter, like you said, but I don't know if it was the influence he had on line mates or what, but his presence was definitely felt not in the lineup. And that's, I feel, a big indicator of how useful a player will be on your team. Because if you can pull him out of the lineup and not notice that he's not there, then you might have a problem.
Yeah, and especially too, like his skill set is definitely something that it seems like Rockford lacks. I haven't got too much exposure to Rockford this year, trying to cover all of the series and stuff we do. We're actually getting to Rockford next week while I'm gone, so it's going to be a little bit longer before I get to really dive deep into Rockford. But that definitely seemed, at least from the bits and pieces I've seen, to be kind of they don't have a good set of like net front hard nosed guys that are more than just your like fourth line kind of meat guys that are not necessarily goons, but like not that far removed from it. And that's not Wilkie. Like, he's a physical player, but he's not a goon by any stretch.
He was one of those players who came into the lineup last year and you didn't know what you had in him because he signed as a free agent with the team, and you go and you're like, oh, cool, a new player. This is fun. Let's see how it goes. And then as the season goes on, you're like, I never want this guy to come out of the lineup because they just play better when he's there.
I think another big thing too for him is they managed to find him good line mates that he had chemistry with, because when you have a skill set like his, you're not going to be someone who drives play per se. You're going to need to have your like Venn diagram of skill sets for your line mates to kind of not have a lot of overlap so they can kind of help each other out. We're going to talk later about Nolan Foote on Utica and kind of his struggles of he's on a line with two guys that more or less have a lot of overlap in that Venn diagram set. And I think that's hurting him. But Wolkey had good line mates last year. They clicked with him well, and they had complementary skills so that, like, yeah, he's not going to be a guy who zigs and zags with the puck through the neutral zone and makes a beautiful zone entry. But like when you put him on lines with guys like that, he can crash the net, open up passing lanes east-west across Royal Road, and be kind of a driving force in that way. I think with Belleville, when they finally get all the pieces back, someone like Jake Lucchini is a good example of someone who can carry the puck through the neutral zone and pull up and find passing lanes that he's open just by driving to the net. I think that would be a good fit for him. Or, let's see who else is on Belleville that I can think of. Lucchini for sure. I mean, Sokolov, not so much. But I think he will fit well with like some of their kind of more character guys who have playmaking skills or who are a little bit fleeter of foot, even if they are kind of like him, incomplete players.
Yeah, for sure. It's almost like he's a calming presence on the ice for his line mates, because he's not, like you said, one of those guys that's just going to zigzag in and out of traffic, deacon the puck all over the place. But he's there and he just gets stuff done. And don't underestimate his playmaking skill as well, because he set up his line mates a bunch last year and they just couldn't finish because, scoring is a big issue for this team. But I'd say his playmaking is definitely underrated. So hopefully he can get that going with Belleville. And I think Belleville fans, will really enjoy him.
Courtney, Wilkie's not exactly going to the top of a division. Belleville, 7th out of 7 teams in the North.
Well, then
Rockford,
he's used to it.
See, I was leading to that. Rockford 6th out of 7th right now, and finished last in the Central as well last season. But Courtney, like Sean said, this coming Thursday when we record for Friday morning, you and I are going to get the chance to dive a little deeper into the Rockford IceHogs, which I know, in spite of their rough start, you are still willing and still able and still, dare I say, enthusiastic to talk about Rockford?
Somehow, yes.
All right. Well, Courtney, thanks for jumping on the show and, talking about Chris Wilkie and the trade and everything like that. I would be remiss if I didn't give you the opportunity to tell people where they can find your work.
Thank you. Well, I am the IceHogs writer for Full Press, so you can go check that out. Cece is my editor, so thank you for that. And as he mentioned earlier, you can check out From Center Ice. The best place to do that, fromcenterice.com, or over on Twitter at VFCenterIcePod.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Courtney, and I'll see you. Well, I'll talk to you soon, but I'll see you in a few days.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming on.
Yep.
Yeah, appreciate you. Courtney Bauman. Full press hockey from center ice. All right. Well, let's talk about pick'ems before we get into the the
Let's do
Atlantic
that.
division. Yes.
I'd very much like that.
Of course you would. So I was about the same clip, 15 correct picks out of 31 matches, 48.4%. That's the exact same 15 for 31 and 48.4. That's the exact same I was in week 1. So we are regressing back to that. At least I am. But you, yes, I know you're giving me the hand signals. You 18 of 31 for a 58.1% correct pick'em rate. Yes, Sean winning the week and continuing on 2-1 against me in the weekend picks. He also has the overall lead. Big surprise, not going 50 of 96 to my 46 of 96. He's just 4 picks ahead. So it's not like I'm falling too far behind thus far in our selection for 3 weekends. But hey, you get to take the weekend off. So do I. And we'll go from there. But hey, let's take a quick break. And we'll jump into the Atlantic Division, Charlotte versus Wilkes-Barre Scranton for 2 games and against Hershey for 1. So stay for the ads, listen or don't, and we'll be back on the other side of them. All right, let's get going with our weekend recap, shall we? Charlotte and Wilkes-Barre Scranton, Friday at 7:05 and Saturday at 6:05 in Wilkes-Barre Scranton. And hell, we threw in Hershey as well. Hershey, 5 p.m. on Sunday. Charlotte with a 3-3. Sean, take it away. You've got 3 games to recap. Let's hear it.
All right, well, let's go over the goals that were scored here real quick. On Friday, in the opening 2 minutes of play, Grigory Denisenko picks up a puck in the neutral zone, gets the zone entry, and gets a shot off from the top of the circles. Chris Biegeras gets a stick on the release, but doesn't get the block completely, and the shot flutters past Philip Lindbergh. 1-0 Checkers, 18:34 left to go in the first. It's a good omen of things to come, usually. The Penguins strike back off their first real sustained offensive zone time in the period as Felix Robert pins Gustav Olofsson down behind the net. Radim Zahorna comes in, pulls the puck off the pinned Olofsson, circles back in the slot, draws defenders to him, finds Valtteri Puustinen across Royal Road. Puustinen blasts a one-timer low glove side past Joey Decord. Tie game with 3:12 left in the first. The Penguins grab a rebound off a shot on the rush. Jordy Bellerive circles the high slot and backhands a shot that hits Jonathan Gruden in front of the Charlotte net. A scramble ensues, and Chris Biegeras is able to pull out the puck out of the pileup and push it past Joey Decord. 2-1 Penguins with 3:23 left in regulation. 2-1 Penguins with 3:23 left in regulation. That would be your final on Friday in a very low-scoring, kind of goaltender-based game. Saturday, Christopher Gibson stops a dump in shorthanded and then gets 3 Penguins players to bite on a rim around before hitting Cole Schwint on a breakout pass that springs him and Carson Twarski for a 2-on-0 shorthanded. Schwint passes it to Twarski, who fires and gets stopped by Napier, but he gets the rebound before any back-checking Penguins do and slams it home. 1-0 Checkers on a shorty with 5:46 left in the first. Luke Henneman takes a hit in the defensive zone that jars his helmet loose, and by rule, he has to go directly to the bench for a change. The Penguins D fail to account for this fact, and that means that a forward will be hopping over the bench behind him. Cole Schwint is that forward, and he picks up a Scott Wilson chip out of the zone and goes for a breakaway where he just rifles a snapshot over the glove of Tommy Napier. 2-0 Checkers. Gibson again makes a beautiful pass as he grabs an errant pass by the Penguins and finds Twarski at the red line for a stretch pass. Twarski walks in the offensive zone, pulls up, hits Henry Bowlby as he goes by. Bowlby makes a sweet backhanded pass across Royal Road to, you guessed it, Cole Schwint, who immediately fires it past Tommy Napier. Napier didn't even really have a chance at it. Natty Hattie for Cole Schwint, 3-0 Checkers with 6:33 left in the second. Matt Kierstead hits the empty net to ice the game. 4-0 Checkers is your final on Saturday. On Sunday, the Checkers head to Hershey. Garrett Pilon gets a turnover in his defensive end 4-on-4, then gets the clear out of the defensive zone. Joe Snively picks up the loose puck in the neutral zone, but pulls up to find Pilon, who hustles to catch up to the play. Pilon enters the offensive zone 1-on-2, shields the puck with his body, walks around Chase Prisky while simultaneously undressing Zach Dalpe and puts it a low blocker side backhander past the goaltender. Just an outstanding individual effort from Pilon. 1-0 Hershey with 4:21 left in the first. The Checkers get a very fortunate break as Riley Sutter tries to break up a pass across Royal Road from Scott Wilson to Grigory Denisenko on the power play and ends up just tipping the puck past Hunter Shepard to tie the game at 1 with 1:47 left in the first period. Giving out 2 assists here shows the Hershey scoring staff is in the Christmas giving spirit already. So that's a plus for them for already jumping in that seasonal flow. The stand up for your teammate mentality costs Hershey as Shane Gersich takes a retaliatory penalty after Mike Scarbosa took a weird but clean hit as he was falling to the ice after losing an edge. On the ensuing power play, Grigory Denisenko works the puck up to Chase Prisky at the left point. Prisky fires one that Cole Lynn gets a tip on in the high slot to completely change the direction of the shot. 2-1 Checkers with 29 seconds left in the first period. Shane Gersich's night doesn't get any better as 35 seconds into the second period, he bobbles a clearing attempt by Charlotte. He doesn't control it, and Charlotte goes for a rush chance the other way. Max McCormick gets the zone entry, finds Denisenko on the left flank. Denisenko pulls up, drops it back to McCormick, who blasts a slapper past the screened Hunter Shepard as a combination of Alex True, Michael Kempney, and Shane Gersich took away his eyes. 3-1 Checkers with 19:16 left in the second. A clean face-off win on the power play by Alexander True. Cale Fleury sends it down to the boards to Noel. Tobias Geiser and Dylan McElrath both go to pressure Noel in the corner for absolutely no good reason, leaving Alexander True, who's barely moved since the face-off, wide open in the slot. Noel puts it right into True's wheelhouse, and he blasts one past Hunter Shepard, low glove side, 4-1 Checkers. Hershey continues to get in penalty trouble as down by 3, they end up on a 5-on-3. The Checkers work the puck around the outside, and it finds Heponiemi at the bottom of the circle. Dylan McElrath falls down trying to cross-check Scott Wilson at the net front instead of blocking the Royal Road passing lane across the crease. Heponiemi sees this and hits that passing lane across to Cole Lynn, who fires it home. 5-1 Checkers. Hershey scores in garbage time as a rebound from a block shot by Cole Lynn goes into the corner and draws 3 Checker skaters. Beck Mallenstein gets there first, plays it back to Tobias Geiser. Geiser fires from distance. It hits off Shane Gersich, goes right to Riley Sutter, who calmly puts the rebound home. That's all of your scoring, though. 5-2 Checkers is your final score.
Busy weekend on the road for the Charlotte Checkers. Let's see how we did on the picks. And first and foremost, once again, TJ Shalott unfortunately couldn't be with us tonight to review the weekend that was, but he was very diplomatic and declined to make any picks on the weekend, as you probably would as a play-by-play broadcaster for your team. You don't want to alienate any of your fans by saying that your team might lose, because you can't go 88-0 or 82-0-0 or 72-76-0-0, 86 or 80. I'm just throwing out numbers here. Don't mind me. Picks. Let's talk picks. My picks: Charlotte on Friday. I thought WBS was going to sneak one out on Saturday and Charlotte on Sunday. I went 1 for 3 because it was just reversed there. Sean, you said if Hershey was closer to full strength or better rested, you'd probably take them on Sunday, but this had all the makings of a Charlotte weekend sweep. And as Meatloaf once sang, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. So there's that. The model said Charlotte was a 56.8% favorite in both games against Wilkes-Barre Scranton, and Charlotte was only a 51.5% favorite against Hershey. Did it account for all of Hershey's call-ups and otherwise roster moves?
Most of them. So it did account for all of the call-ups and some of the injuries, and kind of tried to make the best roster it could from the guys it knew were available, because if you hadn't played in the AHL this year, I couldn't put you into the model because you didn't exist in the system, really. And I also didn't know that you were going to be there. So in reality, the model, should it have known all of the rosters beforehand, probably would have given Charlotte a bigger boost on Sunday than 51.5. But it knew that Hershey was hurting and shorthanded. So yeah, there was that. I will say Charlotte was the better team in all 3 games this weekend.
Yeah, I kind of figured that was the case, just offhand there. And speaking of which, let's break it down. Let's go into a macro view, and we'll talk team takeaways here, big picture. One of the keys this weekend for Charlotte was winning the special teams battle, having a get-right weekend for both the power play and the penalty kill against a Wilkes-Barre Scranton team that wasn't very good in the special teams department. They also played Hershey in the weekend, but the focus was resetting against the Baby Pens more than against the Bears. Sean, how did that play out?
It did work in a sense. The Checkers went 13 for 13 on the penalty kill over the entire weekend, so plus. They went 4 for 12 on the power play, but we focused more on them kind of getting right against what we thought was a very weak Wilkes-Barre Scranton team and a very weak Wilkes-Barre Scranton penalty kill. But they didn't score on the power play against Wilkes-Barre Scranton. They put all 4 of those power play goals against Hershey. So in the grander scheme of things, it worked, but not exactly as we had thought.
Yeah, they just waited a couple games to let their special teams do the talking. Well, at least the power play portion of it. Penalty kill was solid across the board, but definitely, wow, all 4 power play goals against the Bears. Crazy. Partial credit on our part. What did the special teams look like for Charlotte this weekend with the eye test?
So I thought the penalty kill definitely looked improved against Wilkes-Barre Scranton. And I mean, against Hershey, it certainly looked better because Hershey was, icing probably 7 guys that belong in the ECHL. So that's hardly as big a triumph. I still wasn't thrilled with how loose the gaps were between Checkers defensemen and forwards coming in on the rush. They still yielded a fair number of controlled zone entries on power plays, but they did a better job of not just letting Wilkes-Barre Scranton turn zone entries into a controlled possession. They did have some moments where defensemen stepped up and defended the blue line well, more so Friday than Saturday. But overall, they were maybe not stopping them cold at the blue line as often as I would have liked to see, but they were making sure they were disruptive on zone entry. So even if Wilkes-Barre Scranton gained the zone, they were not letting them just get set up in their power play formation and go to work. It's a baby step, but progress is progress. It did work out pretty well for them. And I don't want to, kick the tires too much on a team that went 13 for 13 on the penalty kill. On the power play, I thought they looked better. They created some quality chances for sure. They definitely were looking for Royal Road passes, but are still working on the timing of things. They had quite a few broken up, but I'd rather you have those broken up because at least it tells me you're looking for those moments, those passing lanes. They got a few lovely gifts from Hershey that I don't think will materialize into a better power play success rate going forward. It's not often you get a tip pass own goal for a power play goal. Although Dylan McElrath is a reliable source of bad defensive play, they're going to play other teams who have competent penalty killers that won't make those stupid mistakes. Still, I thought they moved the puck well. They looked sharper on zone entries. They created scoring chances in all of the games, even the 2 against Wilkes-Barre Scranton where they didn't score. The pucks that went in were fluke opportunities, but they also got stopped on intentional grade A scoring chance plays. So we'll call it a draw in that regard. You had some things that looked good that didn't work out and some things that just kind of fluked in your favor. Everything in balance, I suppose. But I would at least think this was maybe not a get-right weekend for the power play, but gave me more hope than previous weekends from Charlotte have.
On the Wilkes-Barre Scranton side of things, the Baby Pens did manage to pull out Friday's game before losing the rematch the next night on Saturday. What stuck out to you about them from a team level?
We touched on this briefly the last time we talked about the Penguins, but they have like these 5 or 6 times a game, especially at the beginning of games, I've noticed more, where they get incredibly aggressive on the forecheck, often sending all 3 forwards crashing, dump-ins below the dots. And this is great if you have quality defensemen behind them who are exceptional at defending the rush. Martin Faravari comes to mind from the Hershey Bears, very good rush defender. Or if you have forwards with foot speed who, they get caught deep, but they can, turn on the jets and get back and back check and get pressure back as a back checker. The Penguins, by and large, do not possess either of those as team traits. They have an individual tour here that can do it, but as a team, that is not something they excel at. And a lot of times these hyper-aggressive forechecks fail miserably, and the other team just marches right through the neutral zone untouched and has a good chance at generating a 3-on-2 rush. I think it probably goes without saying, but when your forechecking gambit is failing that spectacularly as often as it does for the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins, maybe don't do it. But it's not every time. It's not that it's like their only mode of forecheck. But I do notice like a handful of times a game, it seems like they're getting way too aggressive with their second and third forecheckers, trying to just apply direct pressure, and they get burned almost every time doing it. And then you get, 3-on-2, 4-on-2 the other way, and can't do that and expect to win games.
Yeah, especially, you pointed it out before the weekend, and then they just manifested it again in front of you this weekend. It's like, they don't listen to our podcast, obviously.
That's fine.
Real quick in Hershey, what did you see from them against Charlotte on Sunday?
Pretty much exactly what you'd expect when Beck Malstein is part of the top six, and the bottom six is basically ECHLers. Like, they played a strong opening 15-ish minutes, but then just got outshot and outchanced by a team that had their current roster out-talented. When the Capitals get healthy and guys like Pinot and Vecchione and Franson get healthy, this Bears team will be a contender. The Bears on Sunday were missing Alexi Protas, Zach Fucali, Brett Leeson, Axel Janssen-Floaby, Brian Pinot, Vecchione, Franson. That's 7 dudes from their usual Lion roster. That's 5 of your top 9, a top pairing defenseman, and your starting goaltender. The ghost of Frank Mathers could be your coach, and you're just not going to win a lot of games with that roster in this league. Plain and simple. I know there are a lot of Bears fans out there who are, sky is falling about themselves. And it's like, guys, when you put this the Caps are beat up right now. The Bears are beat up right now. When you are pulling that many dudes from your lineup, 7 guys, things are going to go bad. It doesn't matter who you are. You can have the next man up mentality, but if that next man is a dude who's a middling ECHLer at best, you're not going to do it. You don't have the horses.
It's like what we talked about with the Chris Wilkie signing. Belleville had to sign 5 PTOs. They had to bring up all those ECHLers. I know Colorado has struggled with injuries. I know San Jose has struggled with injuries. They fielded a good, bottom 6 forward core that was very AHL based. So, you're going to have those handful of teams that unfortunately just get the injury bug early on this season. And the Washington Hershey affiliation tree definitely is one of those teams. And the results have been in the pudding, unfortunately.
If Belleville or Ottawa get any more COVID cases that they have to, try and find, they're going to be scouting beer league players.
Well, thankfully the league finally stepped in. Apparently 10 players getting COVID is the line for the league. Not 7, not 8, but 10. Criminy, that seems a little high to me, but
Gary Bettman slow to respond to a crisis with NHL players? Gasp. I'm shocked.
Egad, pretends to be shocked.gif. Yeah. Anyway, well, let's talk players. Let's talk Charlotte Checkers players, team level to the individual player level. Who stood out to you this weekend for Charlotte?
Number 1 was Scott Wilson. Not in a dominant way across the weekend, but he had a lot of really good small moments where he made heads-up plays that showed the hockey IQ you'd expect from a veteran of that caliber. One big one was that chip pass to Cole Schwint to spring him on the breakaway on Saturday for that second goal. That wasn't just like I need to get the puck out and dump it, glassing out. He knew what he was doing when you saw Henneman go to the bench and Pittsburgh doesn't realize, oh, that's right, there's now a forward behind us. That nice little soft chip, head up, saw that Schwint was there, let Schwint walk right in. Nice way to make up for a penalty, too, is he gets right out of the box, immediately gets a turnover, springs Heponiemi and Dalpe for a 2-on-1. They didn't score, so that play doesn't end up on the score sheet, but moments like that are important to kind of help turn the tide. His goal on Sunday, a tipped pass, that's incredibly fluky, but he was looking for a high danger play across Royal Road when Riley Sutter tipped it past Shepard for the goal. So, doing the right thing sometimes has consequences you weren't prepared for, but will happily accept. Cale Fleury also played a solid weekend on my mind. Only got on board on the score sheet with an assist, but was involved in the play, making things happen all weekend. Jumped into the rush to help kind of snowplow the neutral zone a few times, created offense off the blue line, made plays in transition. Overall, definitely helped tilt the ice for Charlotte when they hosted Wilkes-Barre Scranton. Not as noticeable in my mind in Hershey, but still 2 out of 3 games where I'm like, that's a guy doing the right thing. It ain't too bad. Last but not least, I'd be remiss if I did not dwell on Saturday's performance by Christopher Gibson. I mean, he looked spectacular in a shutout effort. When play broke down in front of him, he scrambled like a pro. He was square to the shooter most of the time. He didn't let, a lot of the traffic or chaos kind of get to him. He had an assist on the game-winning goal, which was shorthanded. He launched a pass from the circles to the red line to start the play that made it 3-0. Like, Gibson hasn't always been a top goalie in the AHL and has struggled with consistency. He hasn't even been great this season prior to this weekend. He's let up three or more goals in 3 straight starts this season. But damn, Saturday game was a statement from him. That was just a performance that you don't expect to see that regularly from a goalie who's been great in the past, but has also been kind of shaky in the past. But his puck handling really stood out. His ability to kind of see through the noise stood out. Very good effort from Christopher Gibson.
I guess it just sounds like he needed to embrace his inner Marty Brodeur with how he was facilitating that puck. I mean, to fake 3 guys, you said earlier, and to have them bite on that, and then to go down the ice the way he did. I mean, that assist on the first goal of the game was not like he just went glassing out and it happened to get that was an intentional play by him. And it was beautiful. Yeah. Silky, soft hands of Christopher Gibson. How could we have known? Let's head over to Wilkes-Barre Scranton, go on to that side of things. Did anyone catch your eye from the Baby Pens?
I really liked the Robert-Zahorna Puustinen line. They really drove the bus for the Penguins offense 5-on-5 and was really the only consistent line for them in both games, where I felt like every time they were on the ice, they were doing stuff. I think it also does a good job of blending the skills of the 3 together, where Zahorna doesn't have the foot speed, but is enormous, can win battles, can make plays in tight, can be physical. Puustinen and Robert do a good job of finding soft ice, both have good vision and hockey IQ. Obviously, Puustinen on a much different level than Robert in that sense, but still, Robert has it. It's also a fun line because Zahorna is 6'6", and Puustinen and Robert are 5'9" and 5'8", respectively. It looks like a mountain between 2 valleys, or like if Twins featured 2 Danny DeVitos to 1 Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Nice. I like that.
It was a fun line to watch, as well as to, not just watch for comedic purposes, but also as a just good hockey line.
Sure.
The Hollander Bellerive Legare line also seemed to drive offense at times for the Penguins, given that the rest of their offense was a handful of nice Michael Chaput plays to no one. I'd be keeping that second line together for the foreseeable future. They look to have chemistry and click, at least in moments, while the other 2 lines out there, not very good. The biggest thing that sticks out for me at the Wilkes-Barre Scranton for Wilkes-Barre Scranton at the player level were defensemen, though. I have no idea how Mitch Reinke put up 45 points in the season with San Antonio, because that guy was not participating in the weekend for Wilkes-Barre Scranton. He was not appearing in this film. The only defenseman that I really thought looked good for them was Cam Lee. He moved the puck well, had poise under pressure. He was basically the opposite of Dylan McPherson and Taylor Fedun, who looked like lost ECHLers, which for McPherson, that's fair. That's more or less what he is. Taylor Fedun looking that bad, though, is a problem. He made quite a few bad turnovers and a few bad plays in his own zone that thankfully didn't end up with his name being called on the wrong side of our box score recap, but it wasn't for lack of effort. Dylan McPherson was downright out of his depth. Like, he should not have been in those games, but hopefully getting P.O. Joseph back and UC Ricola back will give them a boost on that back end, because oof.
Yeah, I mean, and Fedun, I'm looking at his stat line here. I'm like, how has he done with Wilkes-Barre Scranton? I know he played for the Texas Stars for a number of years before this, but yeah, 10 games played, 3 assists. I mean, not too bad, but when, you're an AHL pedigree guy and a top 6 guy to boot. So your output should be a little bit, I don't know, more substantial, or anyway, I don't want to go ahead.
He's not like, I mean, I don't expect him to be, Kalen Addison or P.O. Joseph or Cale Fleur. Like, that's not his skill set, but like, I expect him to be solid in his own end, make good first passes, but I don't expect him to, go flying through the neutral zone with the puck. But like, he wasn't even doing, his bare minimum job of like defend well, don't take bad penalties, don't make bad turnovers, just, keep it clean, give us something we can count on. He was not that guy this weekend for them.
Well, let's look forward. Where do both teams go from here?
Well, for the baby Penguins, should the transactions from Pittsburgh be made real, which I think they will be this time, and by that I mean they aren't sending Ricola, O'Connor, and P.O. Joseph to the minors just to call them back 2 days later. The Penguins activated a bunch of guys activated them to the roster, so I think that these transactions are not just for poops and giggles. So there's at least reason for hope as the Penguins back end, the baby Penguins back end, desperately needs puck movers like Ricola and Joseph to fit that bill. Drew O'Connor should give them a viable two-way forward to boost that penalty kill, chip up some depth scoring when they need it. They head to the Scott Perunovich-less Springfield and then Providence on a short kind of New England mini road trip this weekend, then head south back to Charlotte for a rematch of this weekend in 2 weeks. That doesn't bode super well for them, but reinforcements should help them pull something useful out of those games. The Scott Perunovich Providence team, or Scott Perunovich less Providence team, or not Providence, Springfield team, and Providence, who's been kind of hit or miss. I think they have some call-ups now. They should be able to at least pull points from those games. Going down to Charlotte, maybe not as much, but we'll see what happens. That's 2 weeks away. Charlotte was the better team in all the games they played in Pennsylvania, but comes home with 4 out of a possible 6 points, which sucks, but that's the hockey gods being cruel. They are cruel sometimes. They're fickle mistresses to us. Charlotte has a midweek trip to the cellar-dwelling Phantoms before a big matchup with the Comets on Friday. The Comets, as we are going to discuss, look like killers this year, so that is a big litmus test for them and should provide some insight as to where they fall amongst the best of the AHL as they're, starting to round into form a little bit here.
I wore my Binghamton Devils cap during our Utica Comets preview, and I only figured since they're 10-0-0-0, they, to pay a little homage to their past history as like you said, we're going to be talking about them in the next segment. So,
well, to be completely honest with you, not all of the people who were fans of their past history are super thrilled about Utica having their team. So
yeah, that is fair. That is fair. I guess, just trying to establish a little continuity between the franchise where it used to be. Yeah, I don't know.
Whatever.
Anyway, it's a sharp hat. I like it.
All right. Well, we are going to take a break here. After the break, we will get to the Utica Comets. If you're just here for Charlotte and/or Wilkes-Barre Scranton, thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening to us from so you get episodes in a timely fashion. Also, check us out on social media. Links to our social media as well as our YouTube and podcast catchers can be found at our Linktree page at linktr.ee/the Calder Farmstead. Wherever you're listening to us from, it has the Calder Farmstead on that. So you should be able to spell it. We're going to go pay some bills, run some ads. We will be right back.
All righty. Let's head to the North Division and talk about the hottest team in the AHL right now, and that is the Utica Comets. Utica's weekend was Saturday, 3 p.m. at Laval, Sunday, 1 p.m. at Belleville. As Sean has detailed on the podcast before, that 5 p.m. curfew up in Canada, got to get those games done on the weekend so that you can get back home to the States. So Utica, let's talk about this Saturday-Sunday set that they had against these two Canadian clubs.
Well, as always, we will start with our quick box score recap, describe the goals that were scored. Saturday, Comets get on the board first off a zone entry by Nolan Foote. He's held up immediately by Louis Belpedio, but Gambardella comes in to make sure the puck stays in Utica's possession. Dribbles to Wotherspoon at the left point, and he hurls a wrister on net that Ryan Schmelzer sneaks past Corey Schooneman. Sneaks past Corey Schooneman to tip past Kanan Primeau. 1-0 Comets with 4:55 left in the first. Nolan Foote works the puck down low in the Laval zone on the cycle, gets the puck up to the point for Jeremy Groyu. He walks down and finds Frederick Odier at the bottom of the circle. He gets a pass through the slot across Royal Road right to Gambardella at the back door. He taps it home. 2-0 Comets lead with 14:46 left in the second. Laval actually gets forechecking pressure and forces a turnover from Utica. Laval picks up the puck, picks up the turnover at the right half wall, and rims the puck around the net. It takes an awkward bounce into the slot, and J.S. Day snaps it home over the shoulder of Nico Dawes. 2-1 with 7:38 left in the second period. A bad turnover in his zone by Zetterlund gets scooped up by Cole Caulfield. Caulfield skates to the bottom of the circle, sees Nico Dawes being a little too lax in his position off the post, and just rifles a shot from below the goal line that hits Dawes just above the nameplate on his jersey and goes in. 2-2 with 4:41 left in the second. Laval starts the period with a power play and gets right to work. They get an easy zone entry and begin working the puck around the perimeter. Cole Caulfield hits Xavier Ouellet at the top of the point. He quickly dishes over to Jesse Ullinen, who blasts it past Nico Dawes. Dawes was off his angle and gave up the space necessary on the short side for Ullinen. 3-2 Laval with 19:17 left in the third. Corey Schooneman with a bad turnover in his defensive zone. Jeremy Grodlu with a point shot that Primu stops, but kicks the rebound into the slot where Joe Gambardella backhands it between Primu's legs for the tying goal. 3-3 with 8:24 left in the third. As time winds down in the third, Frederick Odier wins a board battle against Tori Dello off a chip puck in the offensive zone. He skates down the wall with possession, feathers a gorgeous pass across Ram Road to Graham Clark. Primu makes the initial save, but once again can't control the rebound. And Clark gets a few whacks at it before one finally goes in. 4-3 Comets with 1:45 left in the game. Marion Studenich hits the empty net to seal it. Comets 5-3. On Sunday, Tyler Wotherspoon goes to dump the puck in. It hits Cody Gobolev's stick and takes an unexpected bounce towards Kevin Mandolise. Mandolise can't control it, and Nate Schnarr wins a battle for the loose puck. He circles around the goal, makes a simple backhand pass to Ryan Schmelzer, who one-times it from the face-off dot over the Mandolisian's blocker. 1-0 Comets with 6:07 left in the first. Off a board battle, the puck takes a Comets bounce and finds Nate Schnarr at the left face-off dot. Instead of immediately shooting, Schnarr uses impressive awareness to find Riley Walsh across Royal Road in the high slot unguarded. He rips a snapshot over the glove of Mandolise. 2-0 Comets. Jeremy Grolu picks up an errant pass by Belleville in the neutral zone. The Comets execute some beautiful puck movement to get the counterattack going. As Grolu goes D-to-D for a Hodachuk, he fires it up the board to Studenich, who turns and hits Fabian Zetterlund in stride through the neutral zone. Zetterlund walks into the zone, undresses Xavier Bernard, and rips a shot low blocker past Mandolise for a highlight reel goal. 3-0 Comets with 17:56 left in the third. Down by 3, the B-Sens pull their goalie and work 6-on-5. Roby Yarventier works the puck up the wall, reverses it back down to Philip Doust, who tips it to Jake Lucchini. Lucchini backhands a pass off balance across Royal Road to Pontus Aube, who taps it home from the back door and takes the Comets' lead down to 2 with 3:05 left in the game. But AJ Greer hits the empty net to seal the game. 4-1 Comets.
A weekend sweep, and guess who called it? Let's talk picks recap. I said Utica on Friday and Sunday. Sean, you had your ticket all last season to the Henderson Silver Knights riding the PDO train. I think I've purchased a ticket to Utica riding this PDO train this year because I'm enjoying the ride. I am enjoying the ride. It's very scenic. We're going about 100 miles per hour, but there doesn't seem to be any breaks. And we're just going up 106, 107, 108, 109. Here we go.
I'm pretty sure by law, the PDO train doesn't go at 100 miles an hour. It goes over. That's the...
That's true. That analogy kind of fell apart there, but
no, it's good.
Yeah, over 100 miles per hour. But Sean, you picked Utica on Friday. You were picking the upset, going Belleville on Sunday to get that first loss for Utica, regulation or otherwise. All the makings of an ugly game, and you thought that favored Troy Mann's squad. You thought Belleville was actually going to take it in the shootout. Unfortunately, they did not. They posted one goal, and it was, like you said, 4-1 Utica victory. The models said Utica was a 53.3% favorite over Laval and a 57.5% favorite over Belleville. To use some poker terminology, Sean, you were going all in on Belleville, and you kind of lost your shorts there.
I will defend my choice a little bit later, but let's get into it.
Well, yeah, we'll get into it for sure. Let's talk big picture takeaways for Utica. The Comets go into Canada and leave with those 2 W's to push their season-starting win streak to double digits. Sean, what did Utica do to leave Canada and get home before curfew, mind you? How did they get all these dubs?
Short answer, they were prepared. This weekend was a solid example of the coaching boost this squad gets from Kevin Dineen. Saturday they were ready for the Laval forecheck and walked through it with a lot of well-executed drop passes, cross ice looks in the neutral zone during breakouts. They knew the pressure was coming and they knew where to go. The Comets have also bought into this team and this coaching staff and are back checking hard. They had to have forwards catch and strip Laval players from behind in the neutral zone half a dozen times against Laval. You don't see that from teams that are anything less than 100% in. The defense also uses that back-checking pressure that they're getting from forwards to step up and defend their blue line. It all blended together to this perfect storm of puck dominance for long stretches of the game in Laval. In both games, too, Utica looked like the much faster team. But I don't think that actually had to do with foot speed, but rather they played faster because of how well prepared they were. We talked about this when we talked about San Diego a few weeks back. You can't play fast out there if you're thinking. You have to know where the puck should be, know where your teammates are on the ice before the puck touches your stick. Because if you have to stop and think, that gives extra time and space to teams to take away those passing options, take away your shooting lane, or simply take the puck away from your stick. Well, Belleville having to ice basically half an ECHL roster on short notice explains why they looked like the slower team. This kind of thinking too much has been plaguing Laval all season. But like I stressed earlier, Utica was well prepared. They didn't have to stop and think. They knew where to go, what to do, where support was, where Laval was going to try and pressure them, and how to beat it, and they executed it well. That's how you be the faster team without actually having to be the faster team. I will also give a lot of credit to both goaltenders in the Belleville-Utica game, though. Mandalese 100% gave this team a chance to win that game. The Mandalesian kept the score at 1-0 in a game where they were getting outshot and outchanced by a significant margin. But this was the way for Belleville to win this game with the Mandalesian in net. On the other side, Akira Schmid made a lot of big stops too. Yes, he didn't face the same number of chances or shots that Kevin Mandalese did, but he sure as hell faced some. And that's not to say that Utica didn't play defense well. They did by and large, but when there were breakdowns, Schmid stood tall and kept Belleville from grinding out a win. Sunday's game at Belleville didn't have a final score like I thought it would, but it played a lot like I thought it would. Belleville hung around despite getting outplayed, and should one or two of those grade A chances they had have gotten past Akira Schmid, and they easily could have. Grade A chances are called that for a reason because they're good chances to score. And they did have a couple of them that Schmid, like I said, stood tall and made stops for. But should he not have, this could have very easily been a different game that was 1-0 through the halfway point of the game. Like, this was one of those games where I was starting to think, like, man, they're beating the crap out of Belleville in possession and scoring chances, but Belleville is hanging around with good goaltending and occasionally springing themselves for a good scoring chance. Like, one or two of those goes in, this is a different game, but that's not the way it played out, but it could have. That's all I'm saying.
It's amazing when the voodoo is going the right way. If it goes the right way for your team and you're not doing well, on the other side of the coin with the Mandalesian, as it were, it gives you a chance. It gives you a chance to win the game. But in Utica's case, if you've got the voodoo going for it and you've got a great team with great coaching, you're kind of screwed if you're the opposition.
Yeah. I mean, that's, like I said, Utica was a better team in both games, but no questions asked about that. But Belleville very much played a game that they were in for a good portion of it. Like, Utica turned on the Jets in the third period and finished the chances, which was one of the keys that we talked about. Like, because I said, if you leave Belleville hanging around in these 1-goal games going into the third, they are going to do some damage to your record. But Belleville closed that game out very well, which is admirable of them. But I just want to say there were moments in that game where I'm like, oh, I don't know. I feel okay about taking Belleville in this game in like the second period.
Let's shift from the team level to the player level for the Utica Comets. We talked about Nolan Foote needing to find confidence and perhaps finding line mates that complemented him better. What did you see from him this past weekend?
I mean, not to pat ourselves on the back too hard here, but a fair amount of what we said in the preview regarding Nolan Foote held up. We said he needed to get puck touches early in the game, make hits, get involved. His opening shifts needed to be ones where he was not just visible, but like he was being sought out by teammates to get him the puck, get the puck on his stick, get involved in the game. That helps him build confidence, build momentum, get into the rhythm of the game. And we started to see shades of that a little bit on their Veterans Day game where he was more involved in the play. and it was certainly true over this weekend. He got his stick on the puck more, made hits, looked sharper. You could see confidence building him as the weekend wore on, where he's trying high-level one-on-one dekes going between his legs to create space and make passes on the rush Sunday at Belleville. He even found the score sheet for an assist for the first time this season. I still stand by that I think he should be on a different line, but seeing him find his groove a little bit more, get the puck on his stick a little bit more, build some more confidence is definitely a good thing for him and can be a launching pad that he can build off for weekends to come. The other comment that really stood out to me was Frederick Odier. I do not remember him looking so polished or just flat out smooth on the AHL or NHL level ever. Maybe this is a mirage or fairy godmother wish grant or something like that, and he'll go back to being a pumpkin in short order. But at least for this past weekend, I was very impressed with his vision with the puck, his puck skills, playmaking. If he can keep that up, he would be a good line mate for Nolan Foote until Chase Delino gets back. Just saying. Also, random side note here on the player level. Sunday's game for Utica featured a trifecta from the SCHs of the world. Akira Schmid with the win, Ryan Schmelzer with the opening goal, Nate Schnarr had 3 assists. To further that, Charlotte's Cole Schwint scored a hat trick on Saturday. This means absolutely nothing, but a fun weekend for the Schs of the world.
And for those that are, fans of teams with red jersey, it made them go, swing! Anyway, let's look forward. I would say, where does Utica go from here? But, when you're at the top of the mountain, you just got to keep riding the plateau, I suppose, and hope that it doesn't go.
No, when you get on the top of the mountain, you strap on a jetpack and keep going up.
Yep.
And there is no team with more swagger right now than Utica, and that's earned. 10-game win streak, and not just winning games, but by and large looking like the better team through the majority of those individual games, as well as finding ways to win in tough moments like, your best forward is out for your first big road trip of the season, or being down a goal halfway through a rough game. They've really impressed me. Now, all that being said, they have a scarier looking windshield than they do rearview mirror. They travel to Rochester on Wednesday, then host Charlotte and Rochester over the weekend, and then basically reverse that pattern next week where they host Rochester and then travel to Charlotte. Both teams are ones that have good offense, but in different ways. Rochester has top-end talent that can take over games. J.J. Peterka, Jack Quinn, the newly founded Peyton Krebs. All of those guys can score. Michael Mersch somehow has found scoring talent that I swear to God didn't exist before this season, but whatever, we'll go with it. Ride the lightning when you got it. Charlotte, on the other hand, has depth across the lineup and has guys on every line that can do damage, where they can roll 4 lines, and all 4 of them have guys that can put the puck in the net. This is going to be a very big test for Utica, but they certainly appear up to it. They've shown that they're going to be able to be prepared for whoever they are with Kevin Dineen at the helm, and that they're able to adapt and attack teams in different ways that uses their strengths against the other team's weaknesses.
And Charlotte, with the double affiliation, like we talked about with TJ Shalott, it's boding well for them. They're getting the most talent, the most bang for their buck from both Seattle and Florida. So, gosh, Rochester with all the talent there, and it's just, Utica's got some big tests, and if they can emerge on the other side of this undefeated still,
I'm with you that this is a very good team, but at some point I've got to be like, somebody's got to beat them eventually, right? Like they don't go 72-0. No, that's not happening. So it's a matter of when, trying to find the moments. And I don't know, maybe not at Rochester, but I got to think one of those Rochester and Charlotte kind of flip-flop schedule game, one of those has got to go south, right? Right?
You'd think. We'll see. It'll be fun. Get your popcorn ready.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a break here, and after the break, we will get to Iowa and Milwaukee. If you're just here for the Utica comments, thanks for stopping by. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening to us from so you get episodes in a timely fashion. Also, check us out on social media. Links to our social media, as well as our YouTube channel, all of our podcast catchers, or at least the most popular ones, can be found at our Linktree page at linktr.ee/the Calder Farmstead. We're going to pay some bills. We will be right back. Stay tuned.
We've got the Eastern Conference covered. Let's hop on over to the Western Conference. the Central Division, to be exact. And let's talk about the Iowa Wild and the Milwaukee Admirals. Saturday at 6 p.m., Sunday at 3 p.m. And Sean, with your ever accurate descriptions of these games, let's talk brief box score recaps.
All right, let's start on Saturday. Connor Dewars wins a board battle in the offensive zone against Matt Donovan. He makes a slick pass to Adam Beckman in open ice around the faceoff dot. Beckman fires a snapshot into traffic that deflects out into the left slot where Joe Hicketts tees one up that beats Connor Ingram 1-0 Wild, 3:17 left in the first. 2 minutes later, Matt Bradley flubs a routine pass in the Admirals defensive zone, and Nick Sweeney jumps on it. Sweeney drives to the net from the outside, backhands a shot that hits the outside of the net, but he keeps with it, turns that missed shot into a wraparound attempt that somehow beats Connor Ingram. I still, to this day, I've watched this goal like probably 8 times. No idea how Ingram doesn't make this save on the post. Still 2-0 Wild with a minute 11 left in the first period. On the power play, Connor Dewars sets up shop along the half wall. The Admirals PK takes a passive approach and just lets Dewar hang out there on the half wall. Dewar makes them pay as he uses the time and space to sauce a pass over not 1, not 2, but 3 Admirals penalty killer sticks to Adam Beckman, who rifles it past a scrambling Connor Ingram. 3-0 Iowa with a minute 49 left in the second, but Iowa was not done in the second period. On a routine dump-in, Mitchell Chafee wins a board battle against Frederick Odier. Jeremy Davies and Zach Solo go to pressure Chafee behind the net, leaving Marco Rossi on an island in the most dangerous part of the ice. Chafee makes the obvious play to Rossi, and Rossi just blasted over Ingram's blocker. 4-0 Wild with 43 seconds left in the second. Devin Cooley gets the nod for the third period, but nothing really changes. Grant Mismash picks up a puck at the faceoff dot in his own defensive end, but can't escape pressure from Kyle Rao, turns it over to Joe Hicketts at the point. Hicketts works it back to Rao along the left half wall, and Rao skates down the wall, sees Mitchell Chafee win a net front battle against Zach Solo, hits him across Royal Road for a backdoor tap-in. 5-0 Wild. That was your Saturday. Sunday, it all starts with a weird bounce that turns into a clear while shorthanded. Connor Dewars swipes the puck to Kyle Rao in the neutral zone. Rao charges through the neutral zone, gets the zone entry. Meanwhile, Connor Dewars just flat out hustles Matt Luff while Tony Rick goes unplugged controller from the red line. Rao draws David Ferentz to him, then floats the pass to Dewar on the breakaway. He goes backhand over Connor Ingram, 1-0 Wild with 19:34 left in the first. Matt Bradley takes a dumb hooking penalty. Then Frederick Odier takes a cross-checking penalty that was maybe a good one as Nick Sweeney was in the net front with a loose rebound nearby. On the ensuing 5-on-3, Kalen Addison takes a pass at the top of the circles, fakes a slapper, draws Cole Schneider to him, hits a behind-the-back no-look pass to Adam Beckman, who walks in the home plate area and rips a wrister low glove side past Connor Ingram. 2-0 Wild with 13:34 left in the second. The parade to the penalty box continues as the rare 4-on-3 power play ensues. Connor Dewar recovers a rebound from a Beckman shot attempt and trades places with Joe Hicketts at the top of the formation. Dewar shoots it, and it hits the skate of Josh Healy, bounces right to Joe Hicketts, who was crashing the net. He puts it past the scrambling Connor Ingram. 3-0 Wild with 12:02 left in the second. Iowa's penalty kill tries to do the packs of boxes as strategy. Unsurprisingly, doesn't go so hot. David Ferentz fakes a slap shot at the top of the point, dishes to Cody Glass on the side. Glass pulls Mason Shaw to him, gives it back to Ferentz, whose shooting lane is now wide open. He fires a wrister that Mitch McLean tips past Derek Baribeau. 3-1 with 2:40 left to go in the second. Iowa goes back to the penalty kill and back to the check press strategy to join penalty killing tactics in the 21st century. That doesn't mean you can puck watch and not defend, though, as John Lizotte lets Mitch McLean just slip behind him at the net front, then gets his stick in the wrong passing lane. Matt Luff identifies this, finds McLean on the back door with a laser-like pass, brings the Ads within 1, 3-2 with 8:52 left in the third. Kalen Addison takes a pass from down low and fires a shot through traffic. Connor Ingram gets a pad on it, but Frederick Odier loses body position and can't tie up Kyle Rao. Rao knocks home the rebound to make it 4-2 Wild with 6:52 left. The Admirals win a faceoff in the offensive zone, and Matt Tennyson works it over to Matt Luff, who just goes bar down with a nasty wrist shot to make it 4-3 with 5:09 left in the third period. But that would be all the scoring. The Wild would hold on and pull it out. That was your weekend box score recap. All the goals scored in this pretty one-sided weekend for the Iowa Wild and Milwaukee Admirals.
I was just thinking a pretty wild weekend, but I felt like maybe that was too on the nose. But I'm never one to pass up a good pun, of course. Let's talk picks recap, Sean. I picked the Wild on Saturday and the Ads on Sunday. You thought Ingram got Sunday's start. He actually got both starts. I was going to say, if I recollect correctly, I mean, you just said it about 2 minutes ago. You thought Ingram was going to get the Sunday start and steal it from Milwaukee, but you took Iowa on Saturday by a lot. And 5 goals to none, I would quantify that as a lot. Nailed it. Model said Iowa, 52.1% favorite in both games. The model, the machines are laughing at us right now because,
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I put my faith in Connor Ingram, and most times that was a smart thing to do. We'll get to Connor Ingram later. Let's
dive in. We'll talk team first, and big picture takeaway on Friday. You gave an alphabet, literally. You got to the letter I before you ran out of steam, but you gave an alphabet of reasons why Milwaukee has struggled this season. Did you see any of that improve over the weekend?
In a word, no. In fact, I think I may have had to add some letters to that list.
Yikes.
We're getting to a point here where you're just seeing bad mistakes all over the place that are leading to goals and scoring chances. And, when you make mistakes, bad things happen, and they're making mistakes and lots of bad is happening. And that's causing a lot of frustration, which is leading players focus on too much, trying not to make mistakes, which means they're thinking during play about not making mistakes. And as we've talked about literally 10 minutes ago, you can't be thinking on the ice at this professional level of hockey. Right. Thinking leads to more mistakes, which leads to more frustration. I feel like Master Yoda here. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. And that is what we are seeing Milwaukee have right now, is suffering.
Nicely
and not
done.
to rehash a lot of what we've already covered in Friday's preview, because that will not be helpful. I will point out one big aspect that's alarming me about this team, beyond all of the ones we've already talked about and made. They aren't skating. This is a team with guys who can move their feet. I don't know if these guys are playing through injuries or sickness or are hungover on game day. I don't know those answers. But this Admirals team does not does not want to put their head down and skate. Half the time they get stuck under pressure because they pick up a puck and they plant their feet in cement. Case in point was Grant Mishmash's turnover that led to the last goal on Saturday. Yes, I understand at that point it's 4-0. Who cares? But that moment was systemic of so many of the problems we see from Milwaukee. Is yes, they're making bad turnovers, they're not paying attention to details, but they're not moving their feet. Grant Mismash picks up the puck and has open space around him, but takes forever to do anything with it. And by the time he's ready to move, the Wild are on him with pressure. He bobbles it, makes a turnover, 20 seconds later, and it's back in his net. And not to pile on Grant Mismash, but I saw plays like that just up and down the ice from, 3/4 of the roster. And seeing that frustration level and the just brainless penalties and lack of attention to detail, getting your sticks in the correct lanes, I have to imagine that locker room is a rough place right now. I can't imagine it's a positive, feel good, we'll get them next time kind of environment. I think it's probably a lot of angry guys who are down on themselves. And if it's not, kudos to them, because I've played through stretches of games like that as a player. And while, yes, obviously the pressures of AHL hockey are always going to be a mystery to me, because I've played very low level junior B in the early 2000s, and I play beer league now. When that happened to me, I was very much angry and down on my own game, and that's not how you break out of those ruts. And for Carl Taylor, if that's the vibes in the room right now, that's going to be hard to break through. I think he's a very good coach, but he's in a tough spot right now. This team is doing a lot of basic things wrong, and while they're all fixable in theory, in practice, in actual practice, and on ice practice, it's going to be a lot harder. We talked about buy-in with Kevin Dineen in the comments. That team has bought in. Those players understand their roles. They believe in the coach. They believe in the guys around them, and they want to go play hard. This Admiral team right now doesn't have any of that. And before that changes, I don't think you're going to see anything improve greatly.
Yeah, and, Cole Schneider, it's just coming back to a Milwaukee team after spending this last season in Texas because the Admirals took the season off, as did 2 other AHL teams. But it's like, what position does that put him in, as the leader of this club? And, the other veteran guys too. But I mean, Schneider obviously is the one that comes to the surface. But yeah.
And I would say a lot of the things that we've been talking about do not fall on Cole Schneider. He has probably been one of the few guys game in and game out who, even if he's making some mistakes along the way, he's, trying to put that team on his back and carry them through just rough times. But someone's got to, some of their, it's not like this is a team that just doesn't have talent and we're like, well, this is what happens when you don't have the horses. This team has the horses and they don't want to run.
Couldn't have put it better myself. Wow. Let's transition. Let's go on the Iowa side of things. Sean, what did you see from them that left an impression on you from this past weekend?
I mean, it's hard to critique too much when your weekend looked like that. So I'll probably have to go the other way for most of it. I will say their penalty kill was not great, though, and had some moments where I thought they left the door open on Sunday because of it. They ended up pulling that game out, but there were definitely some PK moments. The passive box moment from them that led to a power play goal. What are you doing, baby? What are you doing? We've said it time and time again. You can't play a penalty kill style that's passive in zone. Power play units are the best guys on the team by and large. You give that talented group of guys plenty of time to space and operate, and they'll smoke you. It doesn't matter who they are. They did that too much on Sunday. Even when they went to the check press, it looked very passive to me. And they got smoked twice in key moments on the penalty kill where they needed to apply pressure because, they've been applying pressure up and down the ice on Milwaukee, and Milwaukee was folding like an origami crane. And then on the penalty kill, they're like, yeah, but what if we gave you space? No. Don't. And we've seen this from Iowa in the past too, going back to last season where they would do just goofy shit on the penalty kill and be really passive and give teams just they'd let them stand in the half wall and be like, all right, we're going to just try and block passing lanes for 2 minutes. And that's a stupid strategy. I don't know why they've every once in a while kind of go back to that, but I've seen it in here and there pop up from starting last season, and it's not good. Now, on all the positive things, their work to the neutral zone was impressive, though. It wasn't just getting turnovers, and in some cases just handed to them on a silver platter by the Admirals. It was how quickly they turned that into offense going the other way. And it's not that hard to believe when probably 3/4 of the game is either Joe Hicketts or Kalen Addison on the ice. Their ability to move the puck, get the rush going is just beautiful. And they did a lot of small things well and have been doing that all season. They're winning battles. They're finishing hits. They're making clean pickups of dump-ins, which is a skill that is very underrated by your average hockey watching fan. But coaches and players know if you can make that first time you stick touches the puck clean and get going, that will save you time that guy is going to be on your back. But they have that grind mentality while also having the sandpaper to back it up and still have a good balance of scoring depth and raw talent. That's dangerous. That's a dangerous team that has all those elements. Now, I will not say for sure that they're all going to be staying in Iowa, but I sure hope they do for our sake, because it has been fun to watch a team that has not just raw talent and can, run up the score and shoot up and down the ice, but also that finishes checks, that wins battles along the boards, that at least sometimes can kill penalties with aggression and with grit. Those are the kind of teams that when they have all of the components they need can go deep in the playoffs and win Calder Cups. I'm not putting those things on Iowa yet. All I'm saying is, as it stands right now in November, they look like they got all the parts.
And they're tied for first. I'm kind of surprised. They're tied for first in the Central Division with the Chicago Wolves. So as long as you don't have, Cody McLeod, bonehead 5-minute majors. I digress. Let's talk individual players.
That's the cost of doing business with employing Cody McLeod on your team.
As somebody that watched him on the Avalanche back in the day, can confirm. And paid attention along the way, but firsthand, paying attention to those games. Anyway, detailed analysis. Let's talk individual players. Kicking it back to Milwaukee here. Let's try and take some positive spins. Who are you noticing on the plus side of the puck, I guess, for the Ads?
I mean, praising Cole Schneider for doing Cole Schneider things is old hat at this point. But yeah, Cole Schneider still trying to carry this team kicking and screaming to victory. On Sunday, though, Mitch McLean was part of the solution, at least. Not part of the precipice, part of the solution. That's a chemistry joke. He was doing work, winning battles to the very end on Sunday. Potted 2 goals from the net front, very visible out there. He's not an assistant captain or captain on this team, but, anybody who knows you don't have to wear letters on your jersey to be a leader. He was out there Sunday leading by example. Usually can't. Now, on the other side, you usually can't give up that many goals and still be considered playing well. But Connor Ingram got hung out to dry on a lot of those goals, but made big stops along the way. He at least gave that team a shot to come back on Sunday. And the Admirals should continue to ride him in net. Yes, rough first game, but without him, they have no shot on Sunday. And with him, he at least managed to hold, the fort down the best he could with the cap gun and a chair and a, rock that he's hiding behind, holding the fort down. But he managed to probably do the best that any goalie not in, the Vezina conversation in the NHL could have.
I just have this image of him at the Alamo with a cap gun and just all these Iowa skaters just bearing down on him.
It's not that far off.
Poor man. He's such a good goaltender too.
Yeah, he is.
Let's flip to the Iowa side. Who got it done for them? I mean, I know you could probably name 8 or 10 skaters, but let's try and narrow it down.
I mean, not to be too corny here, but Connor Dewar was a doer.
Oh,
he only tallied 3 points on the weekend, but my God, did he seem to be everywhere when he was on the ice. And that's like his success is tantamount to what's been driving Iowa so well. Having the Connor Dewars, the Joseph Cramarosas of their, of the team step up, make bigger impacts than we thought, or probably even they expected. They're feeling it this year, those guys. And yes, you can ride Marco Rossi and Kalen Addison and so on, and have them carry you because they're more than capable of it. But truly dangerous teams have depth behind those guys. And like we just talked about, I was looking more and more like that. Connor Dewar, being a doer, out hustling 2 guys on Milwaukee, one of which in Tony Rick, who is 100% faster than Connor Dewar is, without question. He will win a foot race he cares about 10 times out of 10 against Connor Dewar. But hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And Milwaukee talent did not work hard through 3/4 of that weekend. And Connor Dewar absolutely worked hard every second he was on the ice. And that's what you need. You need players like that to step up and do big things and make impacts bigger than they thought they could. And they got it from Connor Dewar. They've been getting it from Cramarosas. They've been getting it for a lot of other guys up and down the lineup, and a lot of Utes too. I forget a lot of times how young this team is just because it seems like they've been there for so long. The Mason Shaws, the Will Bittens, like they're still, barely over drinking age. They get carded still when they go out to bars in Iowa. So to see like those level of steps forward and those, leaps forward in not just putting points on the board, but doing little things, being physical, winning battles, playing that grinding mentality, but having the talent to back it up, like that's what you need.
I think it's fair to say that when you Addison it all up, this is a team of doers. And if you're not careful, they're going to Cramarosas the puck down your throat. That's all I'm saying. That is
I think we're going to workshop that into a title for the episode.
At least not for the segment. I mean, Reddit is waiting if that's not going to be our main title, that's for sure. But let's wrap it up here. Let's look forward a little bit. I mean, Iowa, again, just playing. It's a tale of the top and the bottom of the Central Division. So, I mean, Milwaukee, Iowa, where do they go from here?
Well, for Milwaukee, they have 3 straight against their alphabetical and color scheme rival in Manitoba. Manitoba has played really well this season, but it's gotten a lot of just rotten luck. So their record is kind of up and down, but probably shouldn't be. That's not great news for Milwaukee, as a nice homestand against a struggling team would probably do wonders for them right now, but they don't have that on the horizon till the end of the month. Hopefully Rocco Grimaldi finds some chemistry with the Ads, as he played this weekend, but wasn't exactly driving play. I'm not willing to be like, oh, he's not the answer after 2 games, but I would have liked to have seen a little bit more from him. But, 2 games, let's not go nuts. Still with Connor Ingram, that they should just ride for as long as they can. and some improvements somewhere on that team, anywhere, pick a spot, this is still a team that can get wins and pull out points, but they're going to need to, put on their big boy pants and get to work. Iowa on the other side has a homestand against Tucson, and the Coyotes just called up a bunch of guys to aid them in their General Patton-esque season goals. That being said, Tucson will still probably find a way to score 5 goals in one game and then get shut out in the second because Tucson.
Mm-hmm.
Still a lot of momentum and a favorable schedule rounding out November for Iowa that should see them, continue to ride the Lightning here. Chicago, I guess, has a chance to reclaim that division, lead, but they don't play each other for still quite a bit of time. And Iowa has no reason to yield the favorable hand as they have good scheduling coming up. And as far as I know, Minnesota is healthy and fingers crossed, knock on wood, will continue to stay healthy.
And with Tucson, I mean, they beat the top team in the Pacific Division this past weekend. So don't put it by them to Jekyll and Hyde it for another top team in another division, because Tucson gonna Tucson. I mean, it's the case last year, and we wondered if it was going to be the case this year. And
yes, it is. It's going to be the case. That's why I said they'll score 5 goals in that game. Will they win? Who knows? But they'll probably score 5 in one game and then 0 the next.
Oh goodness! Watch that actually come to fruition. We'll have to pull the tape and check our receipts on that one. But anyway, it is time for another break, and after this break, we're going to get to Colorado and Texas. But if you're just here for Iowa and Milwaukee, thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening to us from, so you'll get episodes in a timely fashion. Also, check us out on social media, links to social media, as well as links to our YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and Google podcasts. Listen and, watch and or listen to us on any one of those platforms. You can find all those links at our Linktree page at linktr.ee/the Calder Farmstead. I think it's time for some advertisements. Haven't said that word in a while. Haven't been leading us into breaks. So advertisements coming up. Stay tuned. We'll see you on the other side.
All right, we are back, and we are here to talk Eagles and Stars. They played a Friday-Saturday series, 7 p.m. both games in Texas. Cece, run me down with a brief box score recap here. Tell me who scored, what it looked like. Give me the whole shebang.
My pleasure. Let's go to Friday night in Cedar Park. After trading about an even amount of opportunities 3/4 of the way through the first period, a face-off in the Eagles zone at 14:44 garnered a number of chances on Colorado netminder Eustace Anunen. Texas forward Anthony Lewis, one of our candidates for Flow of the Year last season, did an amazing job keeping the puck in the zone after the Eagles tried to clear the puck, with Jean-Luc Foudy's pass to Sampo Ranta getting deflected back in by Lewis. Lewis then wrapped around behind the goal line with little resistance, curling up to the right wing faceoff circle before wristing a shot by Anunen to make it a 1-0 Texas lead at 15:20 of the first. Roland McCune and Jeremy Gregoire dropped the gloves about halfway through the second regulation frame. There were no goals, but this was definitely an event. Gregoire lobbing a handful of haymakers McCune's way, and McCune, once he finally retaliated, he took a tumble by trying to return with a right hand of his own. So Gregoire, the victor in that fight, but definitely a little excitement there in the second period when it came to fisticuffs for sure. The only other goal in regulation happened on some fantastic hand-eye coordination from Andreas Vingerli. After a point blast from McCune, Texas goaltender Jake Ottinger shoved Luca Berzan to the ice with the puck bouncing up into the air after a deflection. Berzan then choked up on his stick, took a swing in midair, and one-hopped the puck into the open net to make it a tie game 1-1 at 10:06 of period 3. I mean, you want to talk about some of one of the craziest goals I've ever seen scored. He didn't get a high stick call for it or anything, but he choked up on that stick and just one-hopped it right into the goal. No more scores in regulation, so we went to the extra frame. Just over a minute into overtime, you want to talk about another anomaly. McCune laid out He tried, it was on a breakaway with Karlstrom. Karlstrom was on a breakaway. McCune lays out, but completely upends Karlstrom instead. You get a penalty shot in overtime. How often does that happen?
Never.
On this ensuing shot, never. No, exactly. Karlstrom tried to go left side, and he kept going left, and he kept going left, and he was almost at the goal line on the left wing before he finally fired the shot. Auninen really cut off that angle the whole time, and the eventual shot he saved with ease. So kudos to him for just putting Karlstrom in the corner there. Nobody puts Baby in the corner, but Auninen definitely puts Karlstrom in the corner. After a scoreless overtime, the game went to a shootout. Colorado's Mikhail Maltsev deked forehand to backhand a few times to put one by Ottinger, and the Eagles' Dylan Sekura netted a goal with a twisted wrister. Man, that guy has a wicked wrist shot. Texas's Jordan Kawaguchi and Riley Damiani couldn't get the puck by Auninen. That gave the Eagles the 2-1 shootout victory on Friday night. We pivot to Saturday, much different. You can double the scoring, 6-goal score in regulation as both teams turned it up from the Friday effort. Texas started off the game strong with Frederick Karlstrom accelerating by 2 Colorado defenders before receiving a behind-the-net pass from Oscar Beck and slapping it home to make it 1-0 Stars at 2:16 of the first period, starting off the game quick and strong. But less than 2 minutes later, Jean-Luc Foudy poke checks the puck away from a Texas player in the Stars zone, corralled the puck in front of the net before passing it Royal Road to Cal Burke for an easy goal off a turnover at 4 minutes exactly of period number 1. Texas answered back over 9 minutes of gameplay later when Ty Delandra, was on a 2-on-2 breakaway with captain Curtis McKenzie. Delandra drew both defenders, and with one Royal Road pass and shoot later, Texas takes the lead yet again, 2-1 at 13:11 of the first period. With Colorado D-man Jacob McDonald out for 4 minutes after a high-sticking double minor, it was just kind of a fluke behind the back sort of penalty that drew blood, of course, if it's a double minor. The Stars started off the second period on the power play. After some solid passing on the cycle, Damiani shot it past McKenzie in the crease, or shot past it to McKenzie, rather, in the crease for a tap-in and a 3-1 Texas lead just 51 seconds into the second period. Again, another consecutive period starting strong for the Stars. It took 3/4 of a period for the Eagles to answer back on a power play chance of their own. Sekura, big surprise here, wristing a shot by Texas goalie Colton Point, getting the start this Saturday night from the left wing to bring the Stars lead and cut that to 1 at 15:43 of the second regulation frame. It was then Colorado's turn at the start of the third to put a puck into the back of the net as Eagles defenseman Dennis Gilbert said, "Screw it, I'm going to do it myself." He gained puck possession at the blue line, put a spin move on his defender, then shot up the right wing side before putting a snapshot past Point and bringing the game to a 3-3 tie 18 short seconds into the third period. No more goals in period 3 or in the overtime frame. So once again, for the second consecutive night, we head to the shootout in Cedar Park. Anthony Lewis, whose one hand reached past the right pad of Auninen as the first shootout Stars skater, that was the only tally and the deciding factor in Texas picking up the second point on the evening, defeating the Eagles by a score of 4-3. And just to wrap that up here, I mentioned last episode that Colorado has only played in 1-goal or 3-goal games all season long, and that hasn't changed. At this point, I'm putting on my tin hat. I'm going to get all conspiracy theory on you and say that for some reason, Commissioner Housen wants the Eagles to only participate in 1-goal and 3-goal games. So that is my theory, and I'm sticking to it.
I will say, as a fan of the game, I love the shootouts. They're exciting. Mm-hmm. As a player of the game, I was good at shootouts, and I like things that I'm good at. As someone who tries to view the league as a whole and think of it that way, shootouts are awful. This is an awful way to decide a hockey game because a shootout looks nothing like actual hockey. Like, when you go to 3-on-3, at least there are some actual, elements of 5-on-5 play that happen, but a shootout is literally the opposite of 5-on-5.
It really takes the novelty away from the penalty shot. One of my favorite early hockey memories was Pavel Bure in the 94 Stanley Cup, going on that penalty shot against Mike Richter. And like that, to just go 10 minutes or, go 10 minutes in a 3-on-3, 4-on-4. I mean, the ECHL increased the time. They went to a 7-minute overtime, and they're ending games a lot earlier. So in my opinion, why doesn't the AHL do something like that, or even crank it to 11? Go 10 minutes, go 15 minutes for crying out loud. But again, you don't want to fatigue players. I get that in this game's day and age and time on ice and whatever, but it is what it is.
This is the AHL. What's time on ice?
Oh, that's right. It doesn't exist at this level.
Everyone just plays equal shifts, just like beer league.
Yeah.
Anyway,
sure.
Quick picks recap here. We had Cameron Turner on our preview show. He was not able to make it to with us today. When you don't pay your internet bill, these are the things that happen.
Hey, now he did.
So Cameron took Texas on Friday. He said Colorado would take it Saturday in OT. So no points for him.
No points for him.
CC also said the Eagles would take Friday, Texas would take Saturday.
Oh no, I didn't also say. That was quite the opposite of what Cameron said.
Yeah, you said Eagles take Friday, Texas take Saturday. That was the opposite of what Cameron said. He said Friday went to Texas.
Right. You said also. Sorry.
Sorry.
I'm just
opposite of that.
Sorry. I'll shut up.
No, you're fine. I put words in there that I didn't mean to. You said Eagles
good.
Friday, Texas Saturday. I agreed with you.
Mm-hmm.
Both of us were right.
Hey.
The model thought Texas was the better team in both games, but when you go to a shootout, I feel like there's at least some justification there. They went to shootouts. The model is not built for picking shootout winners.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. So let's talk big picture takeaways at the team level. Let's start with Texas. CC, give me some team level thoughts about Texas from this weekend.
Well, Cam's keys to the weekend was for Texas to be disciplined and win special teams. After 8 penalties against San Jose 2 Sundays ago, the Stars actually adjusted pretty well. They had 3 penalties on Friday and 4 on Saturday. That's about average, I'd say, for the league. And Nick Camano taking an infraction just 20 seconds into play on Friday's matchup. I mean, that had to have grinded head coach Neil Graham's gears, because to take a penalty that quick into a game. Yeah. I mean, it was on a player that was driving to the net, and Camano kind of tripped him up. I mean, it wasn't like a penalty shot or anything like that, but yeah, it was just it showed kind of a lack of discipline, but they regrouped well from it. They defensively, they were tight. They were putting the body on players. They were being physical. They were really good on both the back check in regards to the Eagles trying to enter the zone. And, the Eagles game is mainly speed, and Texas adjusted really well by pinching them against the sideboards, really putting the pressure on in the neutral zone. So I was really impressed with Texas's effort in spite of that Camano quick penalty there to begin Friday's game. Another key. Oh, go ahead. You're going to say.
I do want to jump in real quick here when it comes to taking penalties.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things is it's hard to look at just a number of penalties and be like, oh, those we need to do better. It's like sometimes you're going to take penalties in the game.
Sure.
I think there have only been a handful of AHL games that I can think of that I've ever seen where 0 penalties by either team were taken. And some of those are just cost of doing business penalties. If you've ever played EA Sports NHL series, you have gotten a tripping penalty from a missed poke check. And while they're incredibly annoying in the game, there is at least some realistic element of that, which is the only time I'll give credit for EA Sports for making a realistic part of their game. But that, you went for a poke check, the guy stepped on your stick, he falls. Is that really an intentional trip? No, of course not. You were trying to go for the puck and the dude fell. But you're going to get called for that because that's what you can't tell intention. That's what it looks like. That's still a penalty. That's a cost of doing business penalty. Sometimes it's just going to happen whether you want it to or not. Sometimes you want to take a good penalty, like we talked about with the Admirals a couple minutes ago, where I think it was Frederick Odier cross-checked Nick Swaney, who was in the front of the net with a rebound loose, and he was near it. Yeah, I'll roll the dice that you're not going to score on these 2 minutes where you're probably going to score at a much higher rate if you get your stick on that rebound. So some of those times there are good penalties, but it's the ones where it's just like, oh yeah, I was just skating through the neutral zone and saw a guy there and just right to his back.
Yeah.
Why? What did you accomplish with that penalty? Or the like guys who are in the corner and get beat and they're putting their free hand trying to bear hug the guy so he doesn't skate past them. Like, that's not an immediate threat to scoring. Like, yeah, it's not great that the dude skated past you, but now you're trying to make up for the fact that you done screwed up. That's a penalty that's easily solvable by not screwing up in the first place. But like, I see Cameron's point of like, no matter what, 8 is always not the right answer for a number of penalties it's acceptable to take. But like, some of it also kind of goes with that, what did they look like kind of things. And from the sounds of things, they weren't, those just like, why did you just decide to cross-check that guy who was away from the play for no reason? Like, you gained nothing from trying to get away from that.
No. And there is going to be those weird instances where there was a game I covered one time. Idaho went down to Utah in the ECHL. This was probably about 3 seasons ago. Idaho got 8 penalties. Utah got none. No penalties. And Coach Graham had to bite his tongue. He's like, I don't want to get fined by the league. And it's like, wow. And Colorado, 8 penalties on Saturday night. You want to talk about a lack of discipline? We'll get there. But I mean, Texas at least kept it, around the average of like 3 or 4 penalties a game, which, like you said, cost of doing business. I mean, it's not just straight across the board that, yeah, you're only going to have 1 or 0 penalties a night. I mean, you can't be as aggressive as Texas is in the deadly division that is the Central and not take some penalties. I mean, that's just not going to happen. And they're a very aggressive team when they're putting the body on like they did both Friday and Saturday.
Yeah. And like I said, if you're going to take those kind of, tripping calls where you were trying to play good defense and it happens, or, taking one where you're, hooking a guy who's on a clear breakaway or something like that, I'm happy to, suffer through some penalty kills for either good penalties or, fluky, like the high stick that Jacob McDonald took where he's like over, like goofy shit like that is going to happen. And I'm okay taking penalties in those moments, but it's the ones where it's like, oh yeah, you wanted to fight a guy and took an instigator after your teammate got hit with a clean hit where his head should have been up. Those are the ones where I'm like, what did you accomplish with that? You put us on the penalty kill, and that was stupid because penalty kills are hard. Power plays are dangerous. They're like 20%, 1 in 5 going to put that puck in the net just because you felt like you needed to step up from your teammate who should have been not doing that in the first place.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying you should never defend your teammates, but you need to pick and choose those moments a little bit better so you're not taking instigators for dumb stuff. Or, cross-checking guys just minding their own business. Don't do that. But anyway, sorry, complete tangent on taking good and bad penalties here. Tell me about the third period for the Texas perspective here.
Well, so on Friday's game, Cam noticed one of his keys was control time of possession. And they did a great job of that in the first 2 periods of Friday's game. In the third period, not so much. They should be thankful the Eagles didn't score more because 16-5 shots on goal, Eagles to Stars in the third period of Friday's game. The Eagles did pot a goal, but Texas should be thanking their lucky Stars that Colorado did not. I'm sorry. I can't help but laugh when Sean gives those faces sometimes for those puns. Texas should be grateful that the Eagles didn't put 1 or 2 more in on top of the one that they put in the third period on Friday. But, like I mentioned, their defense was gritty. It was physical. And it limited the Eagles to single-digit shot totals in 4 out of the 6 periods that they played over the weekend. And, with a team that's in the top 5, top 10 in shots for per game, that's pretty impressive to limit, like I said, pinning them against the sideboards, really neutralizing them in the neutral zone so that they can't press forward with 2 or 3 skaters coming across the blue line at the same time. Maybe one guy, maybe a dump in for the majority of it. But yeah, again, neutralizing the Eagles' speed. I thought Texas did a really good job of that this weekend.
That too. And I mean, if you look at the shot charts for where on the ice the Eagles were shooting from outside of those, 2 good periods where they got the offense cooking, they were, they had a couple of shots from inside home plate, but by and large, like they were just getting, forced to the outside, taking shots from the points, not really getting those high danger chances. And that's good defense.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's kick it over to the Colorado side here, if we will. Mm-hmm. So that was the team level at Texas. Give me big picture for Colorado. What did you see from them?
Well, like you mentioned just a moment ago, shot quality. That was one of the keys that I was kind of emphasizing as we went into this weekend series last episode. And Friday was unfortunately a little bit underwhelming. Didn't get a lot of shots in that home plate area. Again, scoring just one in regulation and relying on that overtime, that shootout rather, with the Sakura and Maltsev to get them that victory in Friday's game. Saturday definitely impressed me a little bit more. But yeah, you were wondering if the shot quality was a concern, and if that was if all of those shots on goal that the Eagles had, what the quality on them were. I'd say probably 60 to 70% were low to medium, maybe. Not a whole lot of high danger shots, unless you're Andreas Vingerli and just can bat it out of midair and one hop it into the net. For crying out loud, his hand-eye coordination, that was probably, again, one of the most impressive goals that I've seen, at least this season, but during my pro journalism career, it was super impressive. But I was belaboring the point that Texas was really good with the sandpaper guys, with the back check. Colorado was too. I was really impressed with them showing that grit, pressing hard on the back check with both the body and the poke checking, really making plays on the puck. And that increased effort all around really helped keep these games close, as you can. It's definitely indicative on the score sheet and the final scores, but more on that later. So over to special teams, like I said, Eagles carrying one of the top power plays in the league into this game. They went 0 for 3 on Friday and 1 for 4 on Saturday. Not too shabby, but that's going to take a dip in the numbers a little bit, especially since their clip was about 25% conversion rate. I said that the Eagles' penalty kill had to improve in order to start winning games. And you know what? It certainly did over the weekend. They held Texas 0 for 4 on Friday. And like I said, the Eagles took 8 penalties on Saturday. So for them to kill 7 of those 8 penalties, and 91.7% kill rate for the weekend. Considering you were taking a 73.5%, 29th in the league rate into this weekend, that bumps you up to 77%. Like I mentioned during the preview episode, this penalty kill is getting better bit by bit. Like I said, 4 of the 6 starting defensemen weren't even on the Eagles last year, so you have to gel with chemistry and everything like that. But just all of the new guys, all of the injuries, I'll get to that as well later on. But just at the AHL level, Shane Bowers is out with an upper body injury. Ryan Wagner only played 2 games before he went down with an injury. And Ryan Wagner's one of those, 5'8" scrappy sandpaper guys. And so, great penalty killer, if you couldn't pick up what I was laying down there. But anyway, so going back, power play, it looked a tad snake bitten, and even 5-on-5, I thought the Eagles were passing a little too much, and they were open passes, but get it to your shooters and let them shoot the puck. The Eagles have been kind of bad about that lately. They've been getting a little too cute, and Texas also roughhoused Colorado a little bit. Like I said, Colorado did have a little bit grit, but I feel like Texas was on just one level up, and yeah, again, back to the scoring chances, not shooting close enough, too much passing. Yeah, it just was. It was frustrating to see, but at least the Eagles got 3 points out of 4 on the weekend. What impressed me most about Colorado was the ability to not let these close games get away. I know you and I have talked about this last season and this season. They kept the games close, and even when they were down 1-0 for a good portion of the game on Friday, they come back to tie it in the third with that, again, crazy hand-eye Vingerli shot, and they win it in the shootout. They were down 3-1 at one point on Saturday. They come back to tie it, and force a shootout again. Just super impressive effort for these guys to pull together and not give up, as they've done in the past. They let one goal in. They let another and another and another. They don't just let it cascade downhill and just let this rolling stone build up all this moss and, the allegory of oppositional goals. It's just they tightened it up and they got it taken care of. So I will say the overtime efforts looked a little disjointed. I know 3-on-3 can be a little crazy, so can 4-on-4. But when you are scrambling behind your own net for a good 15, 30, 45 seconds trying to get the puck out, when you just have one Texas guy, disrupting it, it was ugly. It was ugly. There was a reason there was no goal scored on on Saturday. One of them was because Colorado, they had a fair number of chances from Jacob McDonald and Dylan Secura, either creating plays or putting the puck on the play. But when Aunanen has to bail you out, and it was ugly for Colorado.
I don't understand how Colorado struggles in 3-on-3 overtime when they have that much team speed. Like, this should just be a boat show.
You would think, but Texas, again, with clogging things up, like, they're just really good at getting in. I don't know, getting in the way.
I obviously did not see this overtime, so I have no idea how you clog things up 3-on-3. That doesn't sound possible, but I'll take your word for it.
Colorado found a way to shoot themselves in the foot and clog. They put themselves in a position to clog themselves up. It's hard to explain. You'll have to go back and see the footage. Anyway, last in the team effort for Colorado, I alluded to it. How do you get a penalty shot in overtime? Like, I get, laying out and trying to, make an effort, but when you're just, knocking a guy on his ass, like McCune did, I mean, it could have cost you the game if it wasn't for Aunanen. And, like I said, taking Karlstrom and putting him in the corner there. Yeah, it was kind of a baffling weekend, but, making a lot of progress, the Eagles are.
All right, let's go from the team level here to the player level. What did you see from individuals in this weekend here, CC?
Well, I noticed that you can't ride Jake Odier when he's not on the roster. They played him in Friday's game, but he got called up to the NHL. So you had to go with Colton Point, and he did let in a few more goals. He looked respectable. I mean, even though there was 3 goals allowed, and even more so, on the opposite side, he looked respectable, even though he let those 3 goals in. During the shootout, to shut down those 3 shootout opponents and to, escape with the shootout victory, I've covered Colton Point at the ECHL level and at the AHL level now, and in standard fashion for him, he's had these moments that leave you impressed at his ability to track the puck and hone in on the play and really not lose sight of what's going on. And then others, it just leaves you kind of scratching your head as to why he let that shot in. He's been that way since the Steelheads. In this game, when you're dealing with Dylan Secura's wrist shot, or, Dennis Gilbert just coming in, seeing this D-man come in, just unguarded along the right wing, like, I can see why Colton Point maybe was a little caught off guard by that last goal by Gilbert, but he's just, there's no consistency with Point. Like, he's good, and then he's not good. It's just a voodoo dialed to 11. But anyway, let me talk about the forwards for Texas real quick. We mentioned Riley Tufte. He was unavailable due to a call-up. Then Jacob Peterson, the day of the Friday game, was called up on the afternoon of November 12th there. So you lose 2 of your top forwards, definitely scrambling for chemistry. At least you got Tanner Caro on Saturday's game, dressed and played, and had a secondary assist on McKenzie's second goal. There's also another player coming in, which I'll bring up here in a second, kind of an interesting thing. Let me go over to the Eagles. Aunanen getting more and more comfortable with the North American game. Like, he's finally starting to get his rhythm, finally starting to settle in with the smaller rink size and everything. He's tracking the puck well, at least better than he has. And he's getting some defensive support. That D-core really shoring up in front of him with the chemistry and the guys and the forwards as well, really putting that pressure on those coming into the zone. And yeah, Aunanen has adjusted very well. Obviously, starting the season an 0-5, throwing Minor in now that Miska's presumably hurt, throwing Minor in for a start here and there every 2 or 3 games, it gives Aunanen a little less pressure and a little less to worry about in regards to just doing the Mikhail Burden, I'm going to play every game this year, schedule. So those things said about Aunanen, can I say I absolutely love Sampo Ranta's tenacity. I mean, he's been playing up with the Avs, and him and Alex Newhook kind of were like ships in the night passing each other. But Ranta is skating hard every shift. He's surging ahead for puck possession in the opposing team zone. There's a reason he's been up with the Avs for 10 games already this season, and those couple of playoff games last year as well. When Newhook and Ranta both made their debuts last year, on the Eagles squad, I'm like, these kids are good. And yeah, you could definitely see it that they had that scoring acumen and just can contribute on both the NHL and the AHL level for sure. Sean, lastly, for the individuals, you brought up Jean-Luc Foudy and said that he needed to do more. I really thought that he increased his game. You know, that goal that I was talking about that Cal Burke scored, Foudy was pushing on the forecheck. He was pushing the puck. Or he was just pushing the defender. You know, he got his stick on the puck. The puck took a weird bounce and it landed right in front of him. If Foudy doesn't increase his effort on that play, or if he gives maybe, 20 or 30% less, he doesn't cause that deflection. That puck doesn't land in front of him to set up Cal Burke Royal Road for that goal. So Foudy definitely increasing his effort on both sides of the puck this weekend. And he's still he's still got this freaky fast speed that he's trying to, like I said during the season preview, he's got a freaky fast speed and his brain isn't quite, firing as fast as his body. So
he's like the worst Jimmy Johns you've ever been to.
He's freaky fast, but he can't deliver. There it is. There it is. He's freaky fast, but delivery is a work in progress. It's not that he can't, because I told you he could, but the delivery is a work in progress. It's like he doesn't have Google Maps, but he's learning the city. We'll say it that way.
All right, then let's look forward a little bit. The weekend that passed has already happened. There's nothing you can do to fix it now. Where do these teams go forward from here?
Well, Texas, their record 5-6-0-1, fifth in the Central Division. They are hosting Grand Rapids, who is 5-5-0-1. They are fourth in the division. They're hosting them next weekend for a 2-game set. Griffins split the past weekend against Manitoba, and they have a Wednesday game in Michigan against the Chicago Wolves before heading to Cedar Park. And I alluded to another addition, which I was really surprised, Blake Como. For the first time since 2009 with Bridgeport. Yes, when they were actually still called the Sound Tigers.
Nope, still called the Sound Tigers. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. But Blake Como was reassigned by the Dallas Stars to the Texas Stars. You wonder if it's like a conditioning stint or something like that. But yeah, first time since 2009, Blake Como could be playing at the AHL level. So I don't know if that's just a paper transaction or what they're doing. But,
no, he had to go through waivers and went unclaimed.
Wow.
So not a paper, like you don't do that for a paper trend. Like that's not a thing. Hold on a second. I'm not familiar with Blake Como's current scenario here.
Okay.
What is your current salary? Really? He's a million salary. Like I was thinking he was going to be like a $3.5 million guy who was like, his way overpaid, but no, I mean, $1 million. So that's like what, $250,000 above league minimum. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, is Dallas in cap trouble?
I don't know.
I'm looking up right now. No. Oh no, Dallas is in cap trouble. Okay.
Oh, they are.
They are they're doing LTIR things because they have Ben Bishops for almost $5 million salary in LTIR. But like they're at the cap. So
gotcha.
Sending him for $1 million down actually does help free them up a little bit of space because now they have 646. So now they have like a fraction of cap space to make moves and do work. But like, yeah, that makes more sense. That's probably what it is here because everyone else, as I'm looking up and down their roster, either is not waiver eligible or makes more money than he does by, a couple dollars. So he was probably the most affordable option to send down for them. So that's what it is.
Well, and we'll see if you mentioned Grimaldi and not really having a whole lot of impact on the 2 games for the Milwaukee Admirals this past weekend. We'll see if he goes Grimaldi or if his presence is a kind of a shot in the arm for Texas against the Grand Rapids Griffins. I mean, it's not like you're playing the Wolves. It's these 2 teams that are fairly equal in a lot of different aspects. So,
I'm starting to wonder if the Wolves even play games. I feel like half of the Central Division teams we talk about are managing to duck the Wolves on a regular basis. Like, who are they playing all of this time?
That's a good question. Let's why don't you look that up and I'll keep going here.
Yeah.
Let's go to Colorado real quick. 5-6-0-2, 7th out of 9 teams in the Pacific. They're going to begin an 8-game homestand starting with Henderson this weekend, who is trending upwards And then they've got Stockton the weekend after that, Tucson 2 weekends, or the weekend after Stockton, and then Bakersfield in the weekend after Tucson. And it's a good sign. The Avalanche picked up another forward off of the waiver wire in Nicholas Aube-Kubel from Philadelphia. And so does that mean Kiefer Sherwood heads back to the Eagles? I mean, you don't know. I mean, we'll see how they finagle that. But man, when the Avs are healthy, the Eagles shall prosper. And McKinnon is out for 2 or 3 weeks now, so yeah, you just have a number of injuries. Kaut and Stefan Matteau, they're both on IR. Jason Megna's still up with the Avs. Like I mentioned earlier, Bowers with an upper body injury, Wagner injured. Meanwhile, 3 of the 4 game-winning goals this season the Eagles have had are from players not currently on the roster. Alex Newhook has 2 of those. Kiefer Sherwood has 1. The last game-winning goal that they had was Jean-Luc Foudy. So there's that. Foudy coming up there. But just as we mentioned earlier, last episode, so earlier being a few days ago, this Eagles team, the top 6 they're good, and their chemistry and they're clicking, but the bottom 6, the Luka Berzans, the Trey Bradleys coming up from the Grizzlies, the Ben Tardif was such a high stock after winning the Memorial Cup in the Q, and 11 games played, 0 points. Nick Henry, these guys, even Alex Bocage, just really quiet and young guys, and you need more of that veteran depth in that bottom 6, and that's what they are so sorely missing. So anyway.
So they've just been rotating between, like, they played a lot of one-off games, which is why it feels like so many teams, because they haven't played, they played Toronto in a weekend series this week, and they got smoked by Toronto. But then they've just been playing one game against Rockford on Friday. Then they had a couple days off. Then they played going back. I'm going backwards up the list now. Played one against Milwaukee, one against Manitoba, one against Grand Rapids, one against Milwaukee, another against they're playing a lot of these just one-off games instead of playing the usual weekend series. But they have a bunch of the weekend series coming up. They have a home and home with Rockford. But then they have a one-off at Grand Rapids and a one-off at Rockford. And they have a one-off at Grand Rapids. But then they play 3 straight against Iowa, then 3 straight against Texas. They have a very weird schedule. So, the fact that it keeps feeling like teams are ducking Chicago is because Chicago has a strange, one-off style schedule. That doesn't deal very much with the topic at hand, but I just wanted to point that out.
No, it is super bizarre because we haven't really dove in on a Chicago Wolves series yet.
I've been trying to wait for them to have this is a perfect time to, so we don't just talk about them, but we get to cover both sides.
Right.
But anyway, I think that's everything for on Colorado that you got for me. We're going to take a break. After the break, we will get to the best players in the AHL from the weekend, our cream of the crop, as well as I give CC a quiz of ours that is an old favorite, dusting off an old friend for CC. So if you're just here for Colorado and Texas, thanks for stopping by. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening to us from so you get episodes in a timely fashion. Also, make sure you follow us on social media. We have some fun memes. You can check us out on our social media. All the links to that, plus all the links to our podcatchers, our YouTube channel, all of that is found at our Linktree page at linktr.ee/the Calder Farmstead. We're going to pay some bills. We will be right back. Stay tuned.
All right. We're heading on the home stretch in episode number 62. And I would be cautious if you're lactose intolerant because it's time for the cream of the crop. Oh, yeah. It's my 69th birthday. It's a real nice birthday for the Macho Man up there in the clouds. Really excited. I've been flying with the Eagles, but sometimes I've been slithering with the Snakes, if you know what I mean. It ain't bad for a guy to cry, but man, I'm going to cry with tears of joy about these AHL players of the weekend in the cream of the crop. Oh, yeah.
All right. My first cream of the crop, I couldn't resist. Christopher Gibson for the Charlotte Checkers. Stopped 30 of 30 on Saturday for the Checkers, plus made a shorthanded assist on the game-winning goal where he faked out a slew of Penguins forwards to make that assist. He also single-handedly started to play on the third goal by Charlotte, launching a pass from the top of the bottom of the circles all the way to the center ice red line to Carson Twarynski to start that rush chance going. He is my first cream of the crop. Goalie points will always get you here.
Hey, speaking of goalie points, my first cream of the crop is Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. Say that 10 times fast, brother. Oh, yeah. 32 saves on 32 shots for his first career shutout in the AHL. Faced 4 power play chances from Cleveland on Saturday. Obviously, he shut them all down. Yeah. Number 1 on the ice, number 1 in the hearts of Amherst fans, the rifleman himself, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. My first cream of the crop. Yeah.
For me, second cream of the crop, Adam Beckman from Iowa. I mean, flat out just was important in both games. Put up 2, 2, and 4 on the weekend. 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points. Big part of their efforts over the Milwaukee Admirals this weekend. Getting on the score sheet, keeping the team alive. Adam Beckman, my second cream of the crop.
My second cream of the crop is Cole Schwind. He's the Charlotte right winger. He decided to go off on Saturday and give Wilkes-Barre Scranton the top rope elbow drop. Yeah! Starting with a shorthanded goal in the first period, he pots 2 more in a row in the second period, rather. Oh, man, that's a natural hat trick. We call that a natty hattie. Yeah! Helped lift Charlotte to a 4-0 shutout victory over Wilkes-Barre Scranton. Helped them rebound from that 2-1 loss on Friday night. Cole Schwind, my second cream of the crop.
For me, my number 1 cream of the crop, the third cream of the crop for me is Michael DiPietro. Michael DiPietro. Abbotsford goaltender stopped 65 of 68 on the weekend for a .956 save percentage on the weekend. Couldn't get the goal support to win both games, but absolutely stole a loser point for his team by getting them to the shootout on Sunday, kicking and screaming.
Last but not least, my third and final cream of the crop is going to be Matthias McKelly. 5-point night, 3 goals, 2 primary assists in Tucson's big 8-4 victory over the then division-leading Ontario Reign. Take me back to 1997, brother. It's like giving an elbow drop to Diamond Dallas Page. Oh, yeah. They helped Ontario, or McKelly rather, helped Ontario give the Reign. He helped Tucson. Forgive me, it's a little confusing. Got too much madness in the brain. McKelly helped Toronto. Where's my head at? Tucson Roadrunners helped them give Ontario their first regulation loss of the season. Never underestimate the supernatural power of Jekyll and Hyde, the Roadrunners, and Matthias McKelly. My third and final cream of the crop. Snap it to a Slim Jim. Yeah.
Slim Jim, not a sponsor of the show. All right. That means that it is time for one of our favorite quizzes on this show. One that we enjoy doing a lot. It's called The Time Warp. So the way that the Time Warp here works is I am going to give Cece a spread of 6 AHL seasons, and he will choose a season, and I will give him a theoretical game in that season. So, for example, I'd say, all right, Cece, you have between 2013-14 and 2018-19. Let's say he picks 2017-18. Let's say, all right, this team is playing this team. What side is this player on? And as you see, that sounds very simple. All he has to do is guess right. But these are chosen with a little bit of intent here to be a little more tricky. So, Cece, let's fire it up. You are going to go for 5 questions here. You need 3 right to earn the dub and host the sign off and get your 30 seconds of FaceTime here. You have 2013-14, 14-15, 15-16, 16-17, 17-18, and 18-19. Where in time are we going?
14-15.
All right. The year is 2014-15. The Lake Erie Monsters are playing the Hershey Bears. What side is Paul Carey on?
He's on the Lake Erie Monsters. Final answer?
Cece. That is a correct time warp. All right. Cece on the board. Where in time are we going, Cece? You got all the years open to you.
16-17.
All right. The season is 2016-17. The Charlotte Checkers are playing the St. John's Ice Caps. What side is Chris Terry playing on?
The Ice Caps. Final answer.
Cece's 2-4-2.
I got a double there. Nice.
All right. Anywhere in time is open to you still. Where would you like to go?
What's the earliest season again?
18. Earliest is 13-14. The most recent is 18-19.
Most recent. That's what I meant. Let's do 18-19.
Oh. Season is 2018-19. The Syracuse Crunch are playing the Iowa Wild. What side is Gabriel Dumont on?
I'm going to say the Syracuse Crunch. Final answer.
Cece, a perfect 3 for 3. I am impressed.
You know, I guess having that break with the pandemic and everything, you know, I just had a little time to do a little bit of research. So I'm kidding. Who am I kidding? I just remembered. I did no research. Who am I trying to kid?
Well,
Yeah.
you have the stage is yours here. What is on your mind?
Oh, goodness. A lot of things, I tell you. But I did have COVID-19 a few weeks ago, and I tested positive for it, and I sure had it. And, I know I said a number of months ago that, if you wanted to take the vaccine, great. If not, I kind of understand, but I'm going to be a little more forthright in my opinion here. And this may not be a popular opinion, and I understand that. This is United States or Canada or wherever you're listening from, and we have freedoms of opinion. I get that. But you look back at Spanish flu, polio, all of these pandemics that have occurred and that have had vaccines developed. And the fact is, if I didn't get that COVID-19 double shot back in April, I would think that my symptoms would have been a lot worse. We have 3 people in this house. 2 of us have been fully vaccinated. 1 of us has not even been vaccinated at all. And their symptoms were terrible. They were awful. And so, for the sake of everyone out there, I would just say, it's been proven effective, the vaccine that is. Go get your shots. You have nothing to lose. There is no ulterior motive from any powers that be. It is simply trying to eradicate a virus that is, quite frankly, always changing. And in my opinion, I'll put it as bluntly as I can. Go get your shots, if not for yourself, for those around you.
All right. Well, Cece, as you continue to keep me on my toes with these quiz W's here, I keep trying to make them harder. And, I think you're still at like an 80% win rate. I don't know what I'm going to be doing here, but it's your win. Kick us off on the outro here.
Will do. That's it for the show. Thank you all for watching and or listening. The Calder Farmstead is part of the Full Press Radio Network. You can listen to this and a number of other great hockey, sports, and wrestling programs at www.fullpresscoverage.com. Just click that podcast drop-down menu in the top right portion of the website. You click it. That's the list populating of all the podcasts on Full Press Coverage. And enjoy. And thank you for enjoying this one. Appreciate it.
If you guys are enjoying this one, the Calder Farmstead, please make sure you subscribe so you get episodes in a timely fashion. Also, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or apparently Audible Podcasts on Amazon, please rate and review the podcast. Or if you're watching on YouTube, like the video and comment what you thought of the episode. Doing so helps others find the show, and your reviews help us improve it. You can also follow the show on social media at Calder Farmstead on Twitter and at The Calder Farmstead on Facebook and Instagram. We have a lot of fun there. We have some memes that are coming up that are in the pipeline, as well as some pretty good ones I feel like we've done recently. Links to all of that and more can be found in our Linktree page, which is at linktr.ee/The Calder Farmstead. Big thanks to Adrian Drake, who made our theme music. You can find him on social media at AD_dysfunction. That's DYSFUNCTION, so we can make music for you too. Cece, where can people find you?
Well, my name is CC Hockley. You can find me representing Full Press Hockey on Twitter at FPC_AHL and at my personal Twitter account at CCHawk. That's SEESEEHAWK. The majority of my tweets are about hockey. Imagine that. But I love me some music. I'm a big fan of the rock band Rush. I like pro wrestling. Also like, good variety of movies and lots of other things. Hopefully, if it keeps me interested, it's not going to be bullshit for you. So you can check out my writing on the Full Press Coverage Network at www.fullpresshockey.com. Sean, where can the people find you?
I'm Sean O'Brien. You can find me on Twitter at Sean O'Brien81. That's SeanObrien81. I'm also on Instagram at Sean O'Brien_81. Mostly pictures of my dog on Instagram. She's adorable, but there are a couple of interesting other ones here. I went to the Jets-Bills game this past weekend and, had some shots of that on there. If you're interested in seeing any of the graphs or model or anything like that we talk about here, see teams PDO, anything like that, all of that can be found. That is all my stats work on my Tableau page at bit.ly/data-dump-and-chase. All lowercase, all one word. CC, take us home.
That'll do it for episode number 62 of the Calder Farmstead podcast. For Bills Mafia member Sean O'Brien, I'm Broncos country gentleman CC Hockley. We thank you all for tuning in to the show. And as always, keep your stick on the ice.